All right, there we go.
All right, we're rolling.
We're rolling.
Good
Hot.
deal.
So yeah, hopefully we'll have a intro for the videos here
And
soon.
that'll be awesome.
Still got to figure out something better for the thumbnails, but
Yeah,
it'll be cool to have some kind of music,
yeah,
some
we got to
kind of
do
riff.
some thumbnails.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I got to do some more research on that
my
and get
boy,
get better
he
on.
got me on that for the algorithm. It's
Yeah.
wrote some cool thumbnails that'll help build more traffic.
Right.
Yeah,
All
for
right.
sure.
So,
Yeah, Rome's not burning. The world is now.
who did it?
Oh man. Oh god, the conspiracies.
Nord Stream. Who did it?
You know,
Fill me in.
there's China.
Oh shit. All right.
China did it.
You got my attention now.
Yep, they did
What?
it, man,
Why?
because they're gonna instigate a war that way. The one they want,
Between
anyways. Between
between
NATO and Russia, between us and
their
Russia, basically.
how did they benefit?
Because we're gonna fight a war on two fronts, right? World War III. We're going at it with Russia. Civil war, civil unrest here. And I just heard that they actually opened a Chinese police station in New York.
I did catch a little bit of that.
Woo! Highly illegal. So who owns half the U.S. already? So when we're
My
weak, when we're weak, and I, it either was the Chinese or it was us.
my only question is like, how does the Chinese benefit from
Because I think
us doing worse?
when we're because they take more control of us, right? They
But
buy more of us, they own more of us.
without us, they
Slowly,
wouldn't be where they are, though, right? Don't they rely on us as their consumers for their cheap labor to prop up
sure,
their
but they're
economy?
pumping it into Russia all over the world now.
Kinda,
I
but
mean, they're kind of
Russia doesn't have the credit that the
not
U.S.
yet.
has. And I wonder, like, Russia doesn't produce the amount of cars that we produce, so they don't produce the
Right.
amount of chips and whatever.
Well,
The web cameras that we're talking on
I
right
heard
now.
John Kerry today say that China's going to pump out more electric cars and this year than everyone else in the world combined.
But they're
So,
counting to sell them to us, though, I think.
I think it was for their own. No, what he was saying was for their own usage there, for their carbon footprint. I mean, he was praising China doing such a great.
Hmm.
Although he left out that they opened more coal factories in the last 3 years than anywhere else in the world. And
Yeah.
so, they're polluters, the biggest polluters we have in the world.
But you say China
I
did
think,
it, but
yeah,
I have one question. I heard a video of Biden saying that
right,
Nord Stream 2 wouldn't exist if
right. If Russia
Russia,
invaded
right,
Ukraine,
right.
yep. I also seen a
Sorry,
video of Biden.
I'm spark knocking here a little bit. I
Yeah,
haven't had enough of that
I haven't had enough
energy drink. Yeah,
drink either.
I'm trying to collect it. I'm trying
I
to get it
also
together
heard
here.
a
So,
video of
anyways,
Biden saying that he was looking for that congresswoman that had died 2 weeks earlier. So, if it comes out of Biden's mouth, who knows? And I think,
well, I that's one thing, but I almost
I
think
think
that
he
he
left it
heard.
vulnerable.
Did he hear the other thing in a meeting and he repeated it and he wasn't
It could have
supposed to,
been, or
right?
it could have been
Like
just a gaffe and then everyone's like, aha, now we can do this, and they're gonna blame the U.S. Look,
true,
Biden
right?
already
That's
said that.
right. What's the first casualty of war?
Yeah,
In truth, right?
right.
And it's being spun. So
Oh, it's
I seen
terrible.
Putin holding a meeting,
Oh
whatever.
yeah, his
He's
press
declared,
conference
yeah,
there.
that
Yeah.
the territories that he was
Yep.
occupying now, and then
That's part of Russia. He backed himself into a corner. Now he can't back down.
and then they lead into a story of this town where these Ukrainians were killed by a bomb, a whole
Yeah.
caravan of them, and then you're like, well, whose bomb was that?
Right.
Because they claim, obviously it was Russia's,
Right.
right? It's like it's
It's
still
really hard to
messy.
say
It's
because
still messy.
I think the least anyone that you claim destroyed that gas line is going to be a conspiracy. I mean, it's crazy. I've heard people spinning it that Russia did it themselves, false flag, blame
Mhm.
us, kick it off. I think that's the least likely out of all of them that I've heard. That one makes the least amount of sense to me. Why, the day that we're announcing another pipeline, you're going to destroy your own, and all the leverage that you have against Germany and Europe,
Yeah.
pumping that gas in. I just think they're the least likely. I don't think they did it.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was
It
either
didn't make
us or it was
sense to
China,
me
but I
because
don't even know that it was us. I think China really benefits the most out of global war like that, catastrophe going on. I think the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? So
not supposed to be. It's a dangerous way to live.
it sure is, but they were also welding doors shut with their people in houses, so
Yeah.
they play a dangerous game. I think the cold thing that went around, like, that was pretty dangerous.
Well.
If it was from a
Yeah.
plant over there and released, right? So, I don't know. If I was a betting man, I'd put my money on China.
Mm.
I don't think we did it.
I don't know who
I
did
think
it.
it's too obvious that we did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, look at Biden saying that, they're not going to have that pipeline. The day we're announcing the opening of another pipeline that benefits us in Europe, takes more power away from more control.
I didn't see that
Russia.
one.
Yeah, it's on the, and it crosses that pipeline. I mean, it's in the same area.
Wow.
Like, it's just too clean and pretty.
How long is it gonna take them to fix it?
I don't know that they can. The report I heard is, it's bad. Like, 3 different explosions, 3 different places that it ruptured, and this is a pipeline that's sealed in concrete. It's not so easy to just.
Isn't it like a couple hundred feet, like 200 feet or something?
It's like 230 feet down. Like, it's not going to be easy. One of the reports I heard said they probably won't fix it.
What?
You're better off just running a new line.
No shit.
Yeah. Thank God it was natural gas and not crude. Oof. Just because of the natural disaster. Like, the gas is already $5 a gallon.
Yeah.
It's gonna be forever now, probably. But just the
I was shocked
the
at
damage it would do to the ocean.
The area that was boiling when I saw it on a video of it.
Yeah.
I don't know how. Did you hear how big the area was?
It was like 3/4 of a mile.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah,
I didn't hear any report. It's hard to tell from the aerial shot, but it looks big.
The craziest thing that is, like, because of the displacement, the water molecules, it loses its buoyancy. Yeah. So if a boat went across it, it would just drop.
Yeah, that is
like
crazy.
It was in air. It would just sink. Nuts, know. Yeah, I don't know. The world's in a bad place now. I mean, there's the pieces have been moved on the chessboard now, and I don't see any way that anyone can kind of back out of this. Like, it's gonna get ugly. And a lot of people are gonna go cold and hungry, and it's just sad. I stupid governments. It's wars that they don't even have to be fought. It's just
that's what I have a problem with, because you see these legacy corporate medias, the big ones. Their sons and daughters and nieces and nephews that are out there, pumping their fists for war.
Yeah.
Pushing the propaganda. Their loved ones aren't going to go to war.
Oh no.
The politicians that make these decisions, their loved ones aren't going to war.
And if they do, you know what I mean? What's the military, the officer school that?
West Point.
West Point. Yeah, they go to West Point, and then they don't. They're not grabbing an M16 and charging any hill with the rest of the Marines. No way. Was it John Kerry got his, medal because there was an explosion and a piece of rice shot him in the ass?
I don't know how he got it, but
little flesh wound of a piece of rice. Like, these
one
guys,
thing I
make me
never understood.
Blue collar workers that go out there and give their life for that stuff. So
is regular people, they'll be like, yeah, it's good. We need to go after Russia. I'm like, you realize that it might be your brother or one of your family members?
The question I want to ask: what did Russia do to you? Seriously, what did Russia do? You know, All these people screaming for war. Show me where the Ukraine is on a map. You know, like I
well,
didn't know off the top of my head. Like, you know, I
yeah.
know of the Ukraine. I know that it was very corrupt government. I seen a report that they got some missiles that some weapons dealer was already on the black market in India or some shit selling them. Like stuff that we're giving to the Ukraine, and you know, like it's so corrupt and just, you know, now they want to join NATO, and if they join NATO, then from the way I understand it, that's a declaration of war. That is World War III.
Yeah.
That is. I mean, one attack on anyone in NATO, then you got to have a response from everybody.
I can't defend any of them because I don't know who's telling the truth.
No,
right?
You don't.
Because
you don't know.
There's so much propaganda and there's so many
sickening.
lies. And
you know, the only thing that I heard that I believe was Putin screaming about how America's Satan. I said, you know, God, ain't that sad? Like, you know, we are kind of the Satan of the world right now. The corruption that we have, like, you know, if we worried half as much about our own country as we did anyone else's, our citizens would live a lot better. I just don't see how this war benefits the average person.
It doesn't.
You know what I mean?
It doesn't.
Unless you own stock in Lockheed Martin and Halliburton, and you know,
right.
I bet you Nancy Pelosi's husband does. You know, so you know, these wars, they're stupid, they're unnecessary, they're for money and power, and you know, but not for us. We never see any of it. The people in Russia ain't gonna see any of it.
Imagine what we could accomplish as a species if we put all of our time and resources that we put into fighting each other into trying to do good things with it.
You know, I don't want to sound like some tree-hugging hippie either. Like, you know, make love, not war, right?
It'd be a lot better.
But there is some wisdom in that. Like,
I'm sure there's a lot more pleasure in,
you know, I like
making
vodka,
love than there is in.
I like vodka.
Yeah.
Man, I'd like some Russian vodka. Like, I just don't know what Russia's ever done wrong to me. Like, you know, I think there's bigger threats to the U.S. than this, like China, you know?
You have to start wondering, like, how our species even got here and how we, like, sometimes I wonder, like,
because of our leadership. You know what? Joe Biden's walking around on stage. He doesn't know where he's at. You know, they're trying to coax him off the stage. He's going back and forth. He's lost, confused. At that point, he probably didn't know who he was. And then you go, okay, so then at least we got a vice president. And, you know, she's over in, what was it, South Korea doing her speech and said we have an alliance with North Korea. She doesn't know where she's at, doesn't know who her allies are. Like, these are the people who are running the world. And then you wonder why the world is going to shit. The dumbest people among us.
I'm going even deeper. I'm saying our species. What if, you know, Australia, right?
Right.
They're a penal colony.
Yeah.
Right? They were all the prisoners from Europe.
Yeah.
Somewhere, whatever. Jeez. I really can't think right now. But anyways, like, it makes you wonder, like, what if this Earth, this planet that we're on, is just a fucking penal colony? What if some aliens dropped us off here? We get
hydro-seeded the Earth, and then they're betting like we're horse races or something.
No, what if we were like the bad species, and they're like, just drop them down there and fucking
from New York,
right? Like you know, they get a little too advanced. We just kick a meteor their way every couple 100,000 years, and like
and I do believe that. I do believe that the species is in a loop. Now I'm a very religious person. Like I read every day. You know, I'm a believer in Christ. If that offends anyone, too bad. You know, you don't have to believe it, but I do. But I'm struggling because I'm looking at. I watch a lot of historical documentaries, and like there is a lot to be said about ancient civilizations that were very advanced, and now they believe that the human race is a lot older than we ever believed, right? So it's kind of just weird. Like it almost seems like we peak as a species, and then maybe it's war, right? And and then we're all back to the Stone Age again,
Right.
You know,
Right.
starting fires with sticks, and then think about that. If we had this war kicks off, if it's bad, you
Mm-hmm.
know, if bombs are flying everywhere, and you know what happens when your scientists are killed off, and you know what would people do if the cell tower quit working and you could not call someone? Do you know anyone's phone number anymore?
Right.
You know, I mean, people would panic if they couldn't get on the internet and check their bank account. You couldn't get money out of the ATM. Like, what would people do? You know,
Mm.
like, so that it would, even that would push them back to the Stone Age. So I kind of wonder if we're just in a loop, like we peak as a species. But to circle back to your question, I still blame it on leadership. Like, I was watching this documentary of, you know, these ancient secrets of Rome that they're discovering, and it's fascinating, like looking back. But these civilizations that's been built that were huge and powerful, and it's all done on war, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Caesar pushed the boundaries. Julius Caesar pushed the boundaries of Rome out further than anyone had. And you know who he was following? Alexander the Great.
Hmm.
Alexander the Great conquered half the world. So most of the known world at that point, you know. So I think we have leaders and they set the course, and then we as a species just kind of, you know, we just follow along as long as
Mm.
we're getting our grain and, you know, our cattle and, you know, whatever. Life is good, right? So I think it's governments that do this. And I think it's sad because I think the average person really don't want this. You know, I think if you went to Russia and, you know, they weren't worried about having a heart attack later, they would probably tell you the same thing. Hell no, we don't want war. We want to sell vodka to the U.S., you know?
Hmm.
Like, we want to sell girls to the U.S. Whatever.
I,
You know, that whole porn industry, and that's all bad. So, no, I think honestly, most people in civilization don't want these wars. The governments do. You know, they want the power, the control. You know, and this one's weird because it's not really, it's not even being fought for land. In a sense,
well,
it's in a sense. I mean, yeah, it's about Ukraine and the expansion of Russia into the Ukraine. Of course, you talk to them, that's part of Russia, right?
right.
Who am I to say, you know, is Taiwan part of China? I don't care. Put the factories here. Let China have it. If it's actually part of their country, let them keep it then. You know, like it's about influence and power. You know,
Y-
about where we're gonna sell stuff, who we're gonna sell weapons to, about keeping our dollar the global currency, right? That's kind of what it seems like to me, anyways.
Well, let's hope that.
Oh yeah, I
Did you
love
see
this.
that?
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
this. What
I.
government actually? Go ahead, tell the
I.
viewers.
I
This is great. It blew my mind when I heard this yesterday.
well, yeah. I'd have to find the right one because this one right here, I thought it was the right one, but it says something different than what
Yeah,
I had heard. I heard it broke down.
yeah. Government.
Right. And that's I should have had this pulled up
Yeah.
earlier, but
I just happened to look. I seen you
did you?
scrolling. I looked over.
Well,
and
when
seen
you're
that,
talking
yeah,
about
it's
yeah,
perfect. And it's true
yeah,
because it was Latin, I believe, right? With the mint,
yeah, yeah. That's what I'm trying to remember. Where I just picked it
and
up
the
the other
mint was
day.
control
Right. What meant was mind.
or mind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Govern
yeah.
was.
Govern
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Which got gouverner means
yeah.
control, and then wherever down here they broke down
Fascinating.
meant.
Yeah.
Yep. Which means mind.
Yes. Control mind. Government. Mind control.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about, because, I don't have cable. I haven't had cable for years.
Nah, me either.
But then you start thinking about programming, right?
Mhm.
And I always thought it was, like, just something just programming. It was a
Right.
way to, insert said TV program onto
Yeah.
TV. But then we talked about getting rid of cable for a couple years before we finally did. It was like anxiety. It's like, what am
Yeah.
I gonna do at
Without it.
Thursday night
Yeah.
at 8 p.m. because this is when I have to sit down and watch this program because this is
Right.
when they provide that time slot. And
Hmm.
if I miss it on that night, in a week or two somewhere at some random time, that one may be on again, and it was like, holy shit, they're programming me.
Yes.
Like, oh, if you want to watch said program, you better
Yeah.
be here Wednesday at 7:30 and sit, and you actually get 15 minutes of TV and 15 minutes
Yeah.
of commercials. And it was, yeah, I was
Before
like,
it kicks you
oh,
over to the shopping network and you buy a new toaster.
yeah. But just thinking about it like that, like now that I can look back, it's like I'm free from those restraints, right?
Right.
Like,
Broke the binds.
yeah, now I get to pick and choose what I want to watch and who I want to watch. I'm not dependent on
And
three
that
or
changed
four,
who I watch a lot.
right, 3 or 4 big networks that,
Control it all.
right, now I literally flip on the local news to check the
Yeah.
weather real quick, and I really don't even have to do that, but it's just,
Yeah.
I just flip on the local
Once in
weather,
a while,
and I know what
bring up the app.
I know what time that they're gonna show the weather, so I know within a minute or two I flip over there, watch the weather for the 7 day, and
That's it.
yeah,
Yeah.
everything else
Who would
is
have thought the most powerful guy in media, the weatherman? You
everything else
you
is
know,
just
the rest of it's just junk anymore.
Yeah.
You know, they lie, they spin narratives like, you know. Well, before I get into that, because we'll get into the storm in Florida and all that stuff, but to circle back to like civilizations, you had brought up once about nature always trying to reclaim itself, right? You know, and I just thought about that a lot. Like, you know, if a city shut down, how many years would it be before you wouldn't even be able to see it? You know, I mean, there's always going to be some evidence, right? You know, they find all kinds of Mayan temples.
yeah, anything with
know,
rock seems to last.
For a long time. So foundations, even if the
Yeah.
buildings collapsed, and there's still foundations.
But when does it look like a hill
but,
though?
But I'll tell you, they
You
found
know.
this Colosseum, and Rome was really smart about the way it would influence its people. Like, it had the main one, you know, in Rome, but every place as it branched out, it would build smaller Colosseums, and it was just a way of controlling its population. It really was. The way they seated people was reminding you of your place in society. You know, depending on how you fell in that hierarchy, you got to sit in different places. You didn't just buy a ticket and just, you know, sit wherever, spend a little more money, get a better seat. No, it's who you were, and that's where you sat. So they found one in Europe. It was fascinating as they were starting to excavate this, and I was thinking about that conversation we had 5 podcasts ago. It's 1,000 years old. It's 1,000 years, and
Wow.
it's under 9 feet.
Holy crap!
So just an idea how fast
Yeah.
Mother Nature will reclaim it. I made a mental note because I wanted to tell you that, you know, 9 feet of dirt they're taking off of this. It was just fascinating to watch. You know, I love it.
So then you take a major catastrophe that
Yeah.
sets us back 100,000 years. What's
Right.
left?
What's left? Man,
Right? It'd probably just be.
I mean,
I wonder how long it takes glass to break down. You know, how long would how
because
long?
they still find
like-
pottery from, you know.
Right, I know stone things like that, but like if there was an iPhone 100,000 years ago, would we even be?
Would there
it just
even be a component?
right? That's what I'm wondering.
Probably
Would it just
not. Because it's
everything breaks down
plastic,
eventually, right? If you give it enough time,
Yeah.
other than rock, right? I
Right.
mean rock, unless there's erosion, some
Well,
form
some
of
of
erosion,
that-
water, or
Some of that stuff they were excavating, it's porcelain. You know what I mean? It's they made clay pottery. They're still finding that, you know, because they were one of them. They were excavating more of Pompeii. You know, oh god, just the stuff they're finding underneath all that volcanic
Yeah.
rock, the pumice stone. Like
Mm.
it's fascinating. Like they uncovered floors and walls with these motifs,
Hmm.
just intricate, decorations with colors and paints and
Hmm.
uh, to see that and know that no one had seen that for 2,500 years or whatever. It's just it always kind of blows my mind to be able to see that stuff. Man, I'd love to go and visit someday. And that there you go. That's why I don't want the world to burn.
Yeah.
I want to travel it. I want
Yeah.
to go to Rome and see this stuff in real life. I want to go to Egypt. I want to go see Stonehenge. I want to travel the world and not worry about either being in prison,
Mm-hmm.
kidnapped, or beheaded.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Right.
I think there's just I think there's a lot of
And that.
history here that people would love to be able to come and visit and look at the rich history that the United States has too. Granted, we're not nearly as old as we don't have a lot of castles and stuff here, right? Like they do across Europe and stuff. But we got our own history here, the
Yeah.
Great West that we conquered, and um, all kinds of civilizations that were here long before Europeans ever came to this continent. So yeah, I think it's sad that you can't travel, you can't go anywhere. I mean, I I I am happy for technology in that sense that I get to see this stuff.
Yeah.
But man, I'd love to see it in person. It just, I want to go so bad.
I just don't understand how in this day and age, this time in history, we're still ape, slinging shit
Yeah,
at each other via Twitter.
because I think no
Right?
matter
Like.
how far you look back, you know, the Incas, the Mayans, the Egyptians, Egypt, the greatest place in the world, and then it's part of Rome, and all the different civilizations that Greek had conquered. Alexander the Great.
Yeah.
From what was it, Mansalona or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
I think was his people, but they were Greek, and Iran being Persian. How much of the world did Persia control at one time? Everybody's taken their turn, of like controlling big. It's always been war.
Hmm.
It's always, no matter how far you look back, it's always been war. It just seems like we peak as a people, and then war, we tear it down, we start over.
Just can't shed that from our DNA, huh?
I guess
That's
not.
like.
It's something in our, when we were probably nomadic tribes that
Yeah.
were fighting over land for food. You know what I mean? Like Native Americans did it. Different tribes fought each other all the time for
Right.
hunting grounds, and so yeah, maybe it's just who we are as a species. I don't know. Maybe it'll take another 100,000 years to breed that out of us if
But
we
if
ever
if
evolve
it
out of
just
it.
keeps resetting though,
Yeah,
man, how do we get out of the cycle?
I don't know.
Again, takes me back to, Earth being a freaking penal colony,
Yeah,
like we were the worst aliens, so they just
dumped us
kicked us
off
down
here.
here and, just kind of monitor those idiots. They get too advanced
It was
and
funny. Like I used to love. Like, I'm a sci-fi nut, so I used to, Star Wars. Oh, I love it. Star Trek. I love it. They used to say that you were either a Star Wars fan or a Trekkie. You couldn't be both. I was
Mhm.
both. I just loved anything about that. But the thing I loved about Star Trek was just like they had, this galactic alliance across, and for a moment it almost seems like humans, there's peace on Earth, no one fights, Earth is united, kind of this weird utopian
right.
idea. But when you look deeper into it, yeah, but then we're fighting aliens, you know what I mean? Like these aliens are our allies, and we're fighting the Romulans or the Klingons because they're the bad aliens. And I'm like, even in that,
We're still
when
fighting.
you're still fighting, you know and that was the hope of like the future, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
this is where some of this stuff got daydreamed about.
Right.
Replicators where you're not really like tilling the earth for coffee beans. It's just you push a button and you get it, and it's
Mm-hmm.
well, if Bill Gates has his way, it's all made out of cricket juice, really. So, but it tastes like coffee and everybody's happy. But even in that, at the best of what we could be, there's war. Someone's the bad guy, Now we're fighting for, space out there somewhere. So I don't know. Maybe we are just shitty aliens that, some species didn't want anymore. They dropped us off on this rock. It's possible.
Yeah, I was sitting there thinking about that the other day. I'm like, what if?
Huh.
What if?
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting way of thinking about it.
Nobody else can, well, I shouldn't say nobody else. I mean, there's plenty of better theories out there how we got here, but
smarter people.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. It's still interesting to entertain the thought.
Right. Yeah, I'm just a bonehead that likes science,
right? Right.
And some history. But until they can tell me how old Stonehenge is and who built it and how they built it, kiss my ass that we know anything.
How about the pyramids? They
yeah.
even say with modern technology we couldn't do it.
They can't recreate them.
Yeah.
Barely. It would be like an amazing feat for us to build those now.
Yeah.
And that's not just building them that symmetrical. There's also the point that these line up with the 3 stars of Orion's belt perfectly. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I knew they had some significance.
Yeah, we can, and then you look at the Aztec calendar that went to 2012 and that the big event in 20, everyone thought the world was going to end or something, but really I think it was Venus and Mars line up perfectly with the sun for the first time, and it happened in
on 2012.
December 12th, 2012. Yeah.
Interesting.
So, and that's when their calendar stopped. So maybe they thought that was gonna.
How did they know that?
Yeah, but how, listen, I can't do that.
I'm such a moron. I look up and I can find the Big Dipper, a little different North
exactly,
Star, and then outside of that,
every once in a while I see a constellation and I'm like, it kind of looks like something.
Yeah.
But yeah, Big Dipper, maybe the Small Dipper, maybe the North Star, and we're all looking north for it, right? And the brightest star in the north, and no one can find it.
Yeah.
So, that's what I mean by how advanced these people, and we think like they were dumb, oh, those are cave people. Hell no, they were a lot smarter than,
Yeah.
We're actually pretty dumb. Now, granted, some of the, we've pushed technology out, like, if you want to know what a constellation is, download the app,
right,
take your phone,
right,
and it'll tell you, right?
No doubt.
So that's pretty amazing, but the average person, no, we couldn't do that.
No.
So I can't, read their calendars, how they do that, or what was the ancient adding machine that, what is it, the Adios?
I know what you're talking about. It's like a computer, basically.
Yeah. Moving stones around on, I don't know how to.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have no idea how to do that. I know that they found games, prehistoric games that were kind of like chess. That, the pieces are made from stone on one side and bone from the other, so you could tell them apart. I mean, they don't know exactly how the game was played, but it was something like chess. It was from like 2,500 years ago. So there's a lot more to life than what we know. Yeah, I think sometimes we think we're a lot smarter than we really are. Technology's great, but, truthfully, I can't build a computer.
No.
I wouldn't know how.
No.
I can build a battery in a plant, in a controlled environment but I can't go and get, graphite and carbon and, create this.
Even...
You can do it with a potato, right?
Even aside from like physically creating it, how mentally exhausting do you think it would be if you really had to understand how an email was sent?
Right.
Like from how the keystrokes get interpreted into the computer, the program that interprets it, right?
Yep.
If someone had to sit there and explain bit by bit how an email how mentally exhausting, right?
Yeah, he'd be about 5 sentences in. He'd reaching for the bungee cord, I'm checking out.
I often wonder that, like, how mentally exhausted. Like, and I mean, I'm just gonna throw it out there. I have zero idea how the internet actually works on my phone.
Right.
Like, how through thin air.
Yeah.
I get it. I get the moron.
Don't use radio waves anymore.
Right? I get the moron, condensed version. I've heard it, right?
Yeah.
But it still doesn't make sense that I can do this, hit send, and poof,
Yeah.
just like that, it ends up on your phone.
Yeah. How does it go from you to the satellite to my phone, like instantly?
Yeah.
Because if you send me a text message right now,
Yeah.
within a second,
Yeah.
my phone will go off.
Even I've texted
Yeah.
you. I've been 300 miles away from you and text you.
Instant. Yeah. So that's weird.
It still doesn't make sense
No.
in my brain that it can work that fast,
Right.
I remember when I was younger, obviously we've been around since before there were cell phones.
Yeah.
But even talking to like my friends on the phone, like in junior high, like
On the home phone.
being
Landline?
boggled, yeah, like how does this
When call waiting first come out?
transfer?
Yeah.
You know.
How does your voice go through that line and it sound like you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if I talked to you on a landline and then I came here, it would sound.
And
the
it's got to
same.
travel through a wire all the way.
And it's instant,
Yeah.
right?
All the way to the phone
It's not like
company
when
through
we were
there.
kids and you had the little coffee can and the string.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't know, weird something to do with recording vibrations and interpreting it somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I remember being
figured that out.
fascinated when I was younger by radio, listen to the radio, how the radio, they have an antenna in the air and it broadcasts a signal, and this little antenna on my radio gets that signal,
Mm-hmm.
Interprets it, pushes it out through a speaker all instantaneously.
Yeah. Right.
I was never fascinated enough to really delve in to figure it out, but I was always fascinated that it
Yeah.
actually worked,
Yeah.
And then you look
Good
at
question.
then you look at the technology today, and it's like, oof.
Oh yeah.
No, like I said, but if you had to really set and figure out, like, just something as basic as send an email, what it took.
Yep. I remember 18 years ago, man, a whole long time ago. I was having a conversation with my ex-wife, and cell phones had just come out. They weren't around very long. Of course, I grabbed one right away because we had the internet. And, oh man, AOL and big desktop, computers that were way expensive. And I remember saying, you know what, this cell phone, one of these days is going to be the hub of your life. She goes, what do you mean? I said, I bet you in the future, you're going to control everything off this phone. This will be your computer. Like, I bet you'll be able, when you're getting out of work, to turn the heat up in your home so that the house is warm, or start your car. And she laughed at me. And now I'm like, oh, God, I want to go have this conversation with her.
Yeah,
remember that?
I'm too much of a moron to ever have that much foresight.
Only because I love sci-fi and shit, and it just made sense. Like,
I never thought, I remember having my first cell phone in the car. It was a bag phone.
Oh, yeah.
And the first one had to be plugged in. The first one I got had to be plugged in all the time.
Yep.
And then I remember, like, I upgraded, a couple years, 3-4 years later, whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, this new one has a battery in it, so you can take it in somewhere. I'm like, why would I take it in anywhere?
Right.
If I go in there, I can use their phone. Why?
Right.
It didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
I'm like,
To me,
I don't need to take it in there. Like,
I
and
was
then
so hungry for that technology.
And then I remember,
Internet stuff.
seeing the first handhelds come out,
Yeah.
and I was like, well, this is interesting,
Right.
because now people are taking these in every place they go. And I still wasn't on board. I mean, it still didn't make sense because I have a landline. If I go to a family member's house, they have a phone. Like, why would I have to take a phone in there? And then I still remember the first time I seen internet on a phone. I was working with a guy, and he had Sprint. And at that time, I think Sprint had the best network.
Yeah.
And he was checking NASCAR race, and I'm like, "What?" And he was showing me on his phone like he could check the stat how the NASCAR race was going. I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, it's got internet, so I can get it. I'm like, no shit, you get internet on a cell phone
than
now?
your computer at home.
I just found it fascinating. You get internet on your cell phone now.
Right.
Because I had dial-up internet
at
that time.
Oh, man.
No, I either had dial-up or I had satellite internet.
Either one was slow as hell.
Yeah, I had one. I don't remember the exact timing there, but I had one or the other.
Changed a lot in our lifetime.
And I thought, and at that time, he's like, yeah, he's like, nah, I can pay bills on my phone now. I'm like, what? You can pay
I got
bills
so many
on your
apps
phone?
on my phone.
Like,
my phone, and I hate to admit it because, I'm a tough guy and, I like primitive survival skills, but man, my phone is just I get the phantom phone vibration.
No.
You ever get that from your pocket? Like you feel like your phone's vibrating in your pocket, and you look over and the phone's sitting next to you.
No.
Oh, it's creepy. It's weird, man. It's something that it just messes with your head.
Huh.
And I think for all that time, you keep your phone in your pocket and you'd have it down to vibrate or whatever, and you'd feel it. Bzz, bzz. Yeah, every once in a while I get that phantom. And it's a thing, I guess.
Huh.
So, yeah, I've seen it. It's like some weird phenomenon that happens to people. It's almost like, if you had your leg amputated, but your foot still itches, right?
Yeah.
Like phantom leg pain or whatever.
Yeah, I don't carry my phone in my pocket unless I'm at work, and it's in my back pocket and I'm listening to podcasts. But I can't feel it vibrate.
Yeah.
I can hear it come through my earbuds.
Yeah.
But I can't. I don't know if it's just the case I have on there or what it is.
As much as I hate to admit
I can't.
like I am so married to that phone, even though I know, like, here, tinfoil hat time, daddy government's eavesdropping on us, China's eavesdropping on us, Amazon's eavesdropping to figure out what they want to advertise to you, and everybody's spying on you with your phone, but I still carry it around, Oh, if I lost my phone, I can start a fire with 2 sticks. I can do it, but I don't want to,
You still can wear to that smartwatch around.
Yeah.
So
Still my smartwatch, I can talk on that. Like the phone wasn't even enough. Now I get tethered on the watch too, Yeah, crazy. And just to think how fast it exploded, to wonder where we'll be another 20 years from now.
You were talking about that, with your ex-wife there, that you figured there was going to be the wave of the future and you were going to do all that stuff on it. And I remember in 1986, my mom told me, she's like, get a job in computers because it's going to be the future. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
This is 1986, and she knew. We had a home computer. I didn't know anybody else that had a home computer at that time. It was a Commodore 64.
Wow.
Yeah.
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 I remember the first one I seen. My cousin actually had one. He was gaming on it. He was playing games, and
that's what we used as kids. That's what we used it for.
I just got a Nintendo, because I had Atari or whatever. Well, yeah, I had Atari, and then I had just gotten a Nintendo. And I remember I had this gun, and I had the game Duck Hunt. You're shooting, and I was just amazed, how does it know where you're pointing it? How does it figure that out? And he was playing games on the computer, and I thought, well, that kind of sucks. It doesn't, you're hitting keys to move around, and within a couple of years, I had a computer, and then there was no turning back. Once I went to the internet, I was hooked. So I use the internet a lot. I YouTube a lot. I watch a lot of YouTube channels. I watch a lot of, I probably watch my phone a lot more than I watch the TV, actually. And even the TV smart, right? My TV, it's all wireless and, eavesdrops on my conversations to figure out what it wants to advertise to me. And we've all done that, where you're having a conversation with your friend, and then you pick up your phone and, here's an ad on Facebook for something you were just talking about an hour ago with someone else, It's
And they say that shit doesn't happen.
Yeah,
I've had it happen too many times.
Yeah, way too many.
My brother and I we had to pull a stump out for a family member. And we didn't search it. We didn't search how to pull a stump. Pulled enough damn stumps in our life.
Right.
We were talking about hey, how far should we dig? Which route do you want? We're just sitting there just going through, let's wrap the chain around here. Let's use a strap.
Yeah.
We probably need this much length,
Right.
Chop some roots. We're just talking about pulling the stump out, and we're using a truck. Make sure you put it in 4 wheels so you don't spin on the grass, And I get home, and what's in my YouTube suggested video? Stump pulling. I screenshot, I send it right off. I'm like, are you kidding me?
How is that even possible?
Neither one of us searched anything to do with stump pulling. We were just sitting there having a conversation. It took us about an hour to do this, to dig, like I said, dig down, all the shit that. And all we were doing is sitting there having a conversation.
When our government admitted that China was spying on us through TikTok, so they know that another country, and they're not going to do it themselves.
Right.
Come on. Of course they spy.
And that's just one example that came to my mind. And this happens, and every time it happens, I screenshot it and I'll send it to the person that.
Sure, and say, look at this.
Right. Neither one of us searched this. We were just sitting here talking about it, and all of a sudden,
Yeah.
I have an ad for said product, or the videos pop up in YouTube.
I
my
love
suggestion.
Technology. I'm a nerd. I love it. I love like I said, watching these documentaries about ancient Rome, and like, I'm gobbling it up. Man, I would hate to ever lose it, but the thought of if it was gone, like we are closer to a nuclear war right now than it's ever been in my lifetime. Right? I remember when I was young, when I was really young, it was the talk, the Cold War was kind of coming to an end. But, it still was a thing, right? I remember fourth grade or so, them teaching us to get under the desk in case of a nuclear attack or something like that was gonna save your life. But it's, man, could you imagine, like, they detonated one, that, like, the bombs are a lot different now than the way they were, like the ones that, obviously were hypocrites, because, we dropped them, a couple of them, but they detonated one in that atmosphere, like, they could shut your technology, like, right off. Then I heard, I didn't find out, I heard this, and I believe it to be true, that we got some main lines that are power lines in the ocean that's over by that gas line that was, sabotaged. Could you imagine what would happen to us if Russia hit that? And, like, lights out in these cities all over the place. I
thought isn't it the transatlantic pipeline? Isn't that communications? Are we talking about the same one?
I think that's communications, but there was one that was like power too. They were talking about, so like if they sabotaged it, like we would lose big swaths of power across the country. Like,
I don't know either.
But the thought of just, clicking your light switch and no lights are coming on, refrigerator's not working, and people typically have about 3 days worth of food in their home, the average person. So and stores carry about 7 to 10 days, I think, worth of food for their community. And after that, I don't know, man, people start eating each other and neighbors' cats, I guess. And I don't know. Probably wouldn't be bitching about having the cat lady in the neighborhood then.
Maybe, but like, there's going to be areas in Florida that go 7 to 10 days with no power, and I don't know if they're necessarily going to be eating each other.
Well, I mean, that was sarcasm. I don't think they'd actually eat each other after 7 days.
Right, but this is what I'm...
Remember Hurricane Katrina? I mean, like, they went in the stores, they took the TVs and the shoes and the clothes. They had produce rotting in there. Like, no one took that. They just left that shit to rot. And then within days, they're on rooftops begging for help. And then when helicopters come to give them water, they're shooting at them with AK-47s. And, they all went to whatever the sports arena. It's not
Superdome.
Superdome. Yeah. And, I mean, the girls are getting raped in the bathrooms and people's getting the hell beat out of them for watches. And, yeah, it was stupid. I think you take technology away from us, and within a couple of weeks, we are stone people again. I think we revert right back. It's in our DNA, and we are just vicious. Like you said, probably the shit in the universe that no one wanted, so they dropped us off here to, rape and pillage and rape each other, on our natural resources. So, yeah, I think people are animals.
You think they nudge a comet our way so often?
Just to keep us, they don't want us really traveling through space,
right.
Keep us on the rock, right? Yeah. Oh, man, look at, they're creating warp drive. Let's send a comet over there and, let them start over. They'll be in caves in a couple of weeks. After a couple of years, they'll forget what the computer even looked like, They're eating salamanders and scorpions and shit,
It makes you wonder what we would revert back to, because they say domesticated pig doesn't take long.
Instantly.
Yeah.
Yep. Doesn't take long.
A couple months, and the hair.
Yeah. Their hair gets.
Is it a couple months, something like that?
A couple of months. It does not take long.
Makes you wonder what would come out of our DNA. What?
Yeah, probably nothing good. I don't know. I just, when I was watching that thing about Rome, and I was just thinking about all. They were showing one of the sea battles that they had. They had recreated a Roman boat, and they were trying to figure out like how they won, because technically they were outnumbered and they weren't supposed to win, but they did. I think the boats were a little smaller, a little easier to maneuver, but all them ships had rams on the front, and they would ram each other and sink them, and they found one.
Mhm.
You know, it was like 180 feet down the ocean floor. They had to send what are they, the URVs or
Mhm.
whatever, the remote control drones that go underwater, and they lifted it up with a crane on the boat, the ship, and brought it up to the surface. It was made out of bronze. It was kind of beat up. They could tell that, you know,
Hmm.
whatever boat they hit with it, it kind of crunched it like a beer can. The
Really?
boat was stronger than they thought it was going to be. But anyways, the Romans had won, and this was, I think they had sank like 50 of the opposing army. I can't remember who it was, but they sank 53 of their ships. It was
Oh.
recorded. And I mean, there's thousands of people on there, and then the thousands of people that the Romans killed, and how many thousands of Romans were killed. And I look at this world, and I think of all these people that's just in wars that's died, and then this civilization is like they're the conqueror and they control everything, and then, you know, 1,000 years later, someone else controls it. China had controlled huge parts of the world, you know, the Mongols, like, oh, it's crazy when you think back of all these different civilizations that's taken turns back and forth. And I think about how many people died in these wars,
Mhm.
you know.
Have more people died in war, or more people died at the hand of governments?
Ooh, ooh, yeah. There's a good question.
See how you got me thinking now?
Yeah,
I'm
I
usually
love
positive.
it.
Flowers are
Yeah, this was
blooming.
supposed to be a positive, like, fun one, huh?
Look at that.
Yeah, it went dark real
Yeah.
quick, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I know, because we're controlling weather, and, like, you know, that's why that hurricane hit Florida, right? Because it's conservatives down there, so, you know, the politics they've used in that hurricane has been just sick. Like,
I saw the other day, or I think it was yesterday, it might have been today, and they're like, this proves it. This is the most costliest storm in history.
yeah,
I'm like, okay,
I'm
hold
glad
on.
you went there.
Hold on, all right?
We're going to deep dive.
Because is it the most costly storm in history, or is it just more costly because there's more shit there to be destroyed?
There's more shit there to be destroyed.
More
There's
buildings, more
technology,
houses, more cars.
infrastructure,
Right,
bridges,
like,
right?
okay, so evidently, obviously,
Yeah.
it's going to cost more to repair the shit because there's more of it there to destroy than there
Exactly.
was when Andrew hit,
Right.
you know?
Or Katrina.
Right,
Sandy,
right,
New York.
right? Like,
And
I was thinking about, like, okay, I'm a fucking moron, and it took me about 4 seconds
yeah.
to come up with that.
Yep.
I may be wrong. Maybe maybe
I
it
don't
destroyed
think- I
more
don't think
square
you're wrong.
miles. I don't know. But
I think you're,
the first thing I thought when they said that, I thought, maybe there's just more expensive shit now to destroy.
this is my whole thing about the hurricanes. Like they were showing like the coast and stuff, and these islands that were off the coast of North Carolina or something. It was up the East Coast, and they said, yeah, and these were created by hurricanes. And I thought, huh? Like when? Like 1,000 years ago? What was our carbon footprint then? Were we using a lot of fossil fuel back then or something? Or was it from dinosaur shit and methane? You know, dinosaurs sparked too much and it created like nasty storms. So the climate change, sorry, we're getting demonetized. I'm sorry. I have always, never in my life have I really believed in this shit. I thought it was a scam from the get-go. That this giant impact we're having on weather. I just, you know, look at, are we great stewards to the earth? No. Should we be better? Yes. I hate seeing oil spills. You know, we've seen the videos of them using Dawn dish soap to, you know, scrub the little duck and, you know, clean the shit off its wings. I hate seeing that shit.
Mm-hmm.
I think with the technology we have, we could do a far better job than we do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But do I believe that global warming, and then it was global, well, it's pretty cold these last couple of years, but that's because of global warming. And then, you know, there's El Nino and then El Nina, and those affect weather patterns for 3 to 5 years apiece or something like that. So, and I'm like, well, isn't that what's going on then? And now it's just climate change because climate always changes, so you can't disprove climate change. So I seen they're saying Don Lemon, you know, is trying to get this meteorologist to claim that this is like the most terrible storm ever, and it's because of global warming, because of cars and oil, and the scientists wouldn't say it. You know, he just, no, that's a different conversation. Climate, you want to have a conversation about climate change, we can have that, but this is about a hurricane, and this is, you know, it's category this, and this where it's going to hit land, and this is the eye wall, and this is what happens inside the storm. That's what he was talking about. So I seen it was on Tucker Carlson actually that they did they pulled data, and over 120 years now. Don claims there's a lot more storms now, and there's not.
Right.
It's for 120 years. This has basically been flat. Hurricanes have always hit Florida long before there were humans on Florida. Hurricanes hit that area. Hurricanes hit, you know, Virginia, that east coast line there. Storms, tropical storms happen. They always happened. They're always going to. And so then I seen Don challenge someone else about, well, it's not that there's more storms, it's just the intensity of them. They're a lot worse now than they ever were. Like you said, the most costly one ever, you know, because these storms are worse. Like, we need these electric cars right now. Do you real good in Florida right now, by the way, when there's no electricity to charge a car. But so they looked at it, and it's been in that time frame about a 5% increase in intensity. And the honestly, when the scientists look at this, looking out over the next century, there's going to be about a 20% decrease. You know, they think we're getting into an area now where the storms will probably detensify a little bit. You might even
it seems like there's been a little lull in the activity over the last handful of years. Anyway,
I mean, you notice that before it was like named hurricane, and it just seems. And I watched, you know, this guy being a reporter, and he's on TV, and he goes, well, you know, because I grew up there, and I know this. Well, don't tell me you're feeling. Look at, man, you're a news organization. You can pull the statistics if you want.
Yeah.
You just didn't want to, you know, and you're lying to people, and you're making, you're going to fuck life up for everybody by trying to jump into this green energy without people really knowing the facts about it. And I just, like, why not kind of just start hybriding it into our life? Because, you know, we'll do it. Look at what we've done with technology. You gave humans the option to have it, and everybody jumped on it. Everybody owns a computer now. Everybody has internet access. There's hardly a human on earth that doesn't have internet access, at least with a smartphone. So if you give them the option, they'll do it. So why just flip the switch and go that way when you know it's gonna hurt everybody, and it's based on lies, you know?
Yeah, I'm confused too, because again, like, you hear people on both sides with compelling arguments, and it's hard to tell. I assume the truth is in the middle, where it usually is. Yeah. Always, usually, right? Lies somewhere in the middle, right? Yeah, we are having an effect, but if you think going out and buying a Prius or an EV is going to somehow change the climate,
it's not.
You're fucking smoking crack.
Yeah, you're just.
You may feel virtuous because you did your good thing, and good for you.
You know, here you want to do something good. Clean the ditches out, man. You know, everyone throwing their goddamn McDonald's bags out there. You know, there you go. Do that. We should be good stewards.
Yeah, I just.
But
I don't see how.
Don't tell me I got to be a good steward because I am creating climate change, and the coastline, the water's going to increase 3 or 4 feet on the coastline, and Obama's going to have to sell his goddamn mansion.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a good reason. No.
And those are things that confuse me.
Yeah. Have me be a good steward because this is the right thing to do. We should take care of the earth because it takes care of us. I agree.
And I understand sometimes people need nudged. in the direction of new technology because people get hung up in the old ways and they don't want to change. And
yeah, I mean,
I
change is
get
hard,
it,
right?
but saying we all have to do this for this specific dire, you're telling me if it took us 100 years to get here, that if we just build some solar panels and some wind turbines to drive electric cars, that it's fixed?
Right.
It's done, fixed?
Yep.
We did it in 5 years. It took 100 years to fuck it up, but we're going to fix it in 5 years.
So you just told me that in Florida they're claiming the most destructive storm ever. Now what happens if they had like really relied heavy on solar and wind? There's wind turbines now that are laying down from the water spouts and the tornadoes. There's hail, fucked up everybody's solar panels. How expensive would that have been to fix that thing? You know? Like, we're not talking about a natural gas line that goes underground that you just, turn the stove on and it works. You're talking, out there, these big, giant areas with these solar panels that just got annihilated. And I want to know, show people the truth of what it's going to do to the earth to create this stuff, to make it. Show me the real evidence that it's not just better for the environment, but that we're not going to destroy the environment worse, that the solution's not worse than the problem, right? And I don't tell me global warming. Tell me, because we should be good human beings. That's something I'll jump on the bus about. But if it's about global warming, go smoke and crack, man. What? I remember when I was like 14 years old and I was studying in science and they were talking about the, carbon dating this and looking at fossils and, figuring out how the earth looked 200 million years ago and the kinds of plants that we had. And it was very green, the world, they got these fossils, big giant trees and plants, and there was a lot of carbon in the air. The atmosphere was very tropical, a lot different than it is today. So it was very great for plant life. And they were saying that some of the hottest years that was ever recorded that they know of on the earth was before there were humans. Now, this is something that I heard long before I ever heard the terminology of, global warming. And I watch Al Gore and these people get rich off of this stuff. And they're telling you to ride a bike, right? Or walk when they know that that's not practical, because people travel big distances for work now and employment. Like, that's just not feasible. We don't live on little farms anymore in these little communities. While you're flying a private big ass jet and there's like 2 people on there, you and the stewardess that you're screwing that your wife don't know, while you're doing smoking crack with Hunter Biden. Like, just no, man. Tell me, because we got to be better humans. All right, cool. I'm down for that.
I like the idea of electric car. Trust me. Like I said, I'm tired of doing oil changes. I'm tired of stopping at the gas station twice a week. And
I love technology, man. Look at this right here, man. Runs my life. I love my cell phone. I'm not opposed to technology. I'm like you. I hate oil changes and I don't even do them myself anymore. I'll be honest. I'm lazy. I'll take it to a mechanic. Let him do it. I'd rather pay the extra money and not have to deal with it myself. I'm busy. Life's different now than it used to be. I used to like wrenching on all that stuff. Well, then again, you used to be able to. Now it's a little more complicated. So
I don't know. Just like I said, I'll defend it. I agree that there's got to be a better way, right? And the way we've been doing it, just because we've been doing it as long as we have with coal and all this shit for all the time we have been, doesn't mean it's right.
Doesn't
and
mean
we
it's
have
the
to
best
find
way.
We have to find a different way.
Let's find a better way.
Right.
But I don't know that that's.
I'd love to have some little generator, nuclear, whatever. Okay, again, moron here.
Nuclear fusion,
right?
Man, that's
moron.
What I think it's at.
Something the size of a regular generator
that sits. Ian in here, right?
That sits.
Graphite.
That sits beside my house over there and runs my whole house.
Yeah.
No power lines. No more worried about storms and trees and down power lines and all that bullshit.
Exactly.
And this little box that sits outside of my home and just generates clean, free energy.
You know what? I believe
for the life of that house.
That'll happen. I believe that humans will push it. They'll get.
I have a lot more faith in that than I do a bunch of turbines and solar panels that
we gotta buy from who?
Right.
From China.
Yeah.
We don't even make them ourselves.
Right.
Where, you know what I mean? Like, you
Huh,
know, because
even
Americans are stupid.
and
They think they
I don't
don't see
understand
the giant holes in
why they
government.
haven't subsidized some research and technology like that. You know how
You know
much
why?
security independence we'd have in this
That's why.
country.
That's why. Because you'd be independent from the government. It's about control, man. It's always about control.
I hope not. I hope it's not that
I believe they
sinister.
would hurt us just to keep us in, you know, in line. I got to be careful how I say
Man, this
things.
isn't
I don't want to
This
die in a
this
car
isn't
wreck.
this isn't this isn't
Well,
some dictatorship. This
not
isn't.
yet. It's more of a
Yeah,
banana republic almost now. You know.
yeah.
I mean,
But
look at, and I'll tell you because I watched a report earlier today. The guy, you know, the insurrection on January January 6th insurrection. The guy was fighting with the police. And you know what? Fine. You know, you're trying to knock a cop around who's telling you, like, look, you can't come in here. You're trying to force your way in there like an asshole. You hit the cop. You get in a fist fight. You know, destroy some property or whatever. You go to jail. Fine. You're a criminal. Well, you know, don't. I can see if the cops show up at your house, they kick the door, and they start beating the shit out of you, beat them back, right? But you went there, you were supposed to just kind of protest, like walk through the streets and complain. It's what you should have done. You got physical with the police, you end up in jail. So what? That's what you deserve. So you got 7 years. 7 years, man. And at the same time, this girl who's like she's a lawyer, I guess, this lady, firebombed a cop car during the Floyd riots and threw a Molotov cocktail inside a police car. And I guess the reports were she was handing them out to other people too. Got 3 years. And now she's trying to get out with like 18 months. And she probably will. Now, justice ain't blind anymore in this country.
right.
And if you're on one side, man, well, look at the guy that ran the kid over, you know, because he was a Republican, and he's out on bond, like drunk driving, ran a kid over on purpose and killed him, murdered him for political reasons, and you spend 2 days in jail and you're out on bond, enjoying your family, and you know probably barbecuing this weekend. Oh man, could you imagine if you know some Trump guy would have ran over a Democrat? Ooh,
Right.
you know, I mean, isn't there like January 6th people that's kind of disappeared? Like, you know, reports of them being tortured and shit, and like some of them haven't even gotten to see a lawyer yet. They're in solitary confinement. So when justice is that different, man, yeah, we're in trouble.
Yeah, on the
We're in a lot
surface,
of
it doesn't
trouble.
look good. Definitely.
You know, and then like I want to know who's running the country. Where's
I've seen
the
some
orders coming
interesting.
from?
I've seen some interesting
Let's get
reports
into that.
myself, and they've made some compelling arguments.
Mhm.
You know, when certain political officials come out and say one thing, and then a couple days later,
It's being walked back.
yeah, and it's
know?
like,
I love it.
yeah,
Like
that
this
I definitely,
pipeline won't exist.
I definitely. Some of the examples are hard to justify. Like, well, maybe one, you're like, well,
Yeah,
misspoke or whatever. But then, like two or
Sure.
three later, you're like,
yeah.
who's making the decision to walk this back?
Well, it's funny. I seen a report that I can't remember the president now, and I tried to make a mental note, but my head is just scrambled. It's been a weekend. My little one he's been a challenge this weekend, let's say. So he wasn't feeling real well, and I just didn't have the mental capacity this weekend that I normally do. But it was one of the presidents had a stroke while he was in office, and I mean, shut his brain off, man. Like he wasn't running nothing. And it was like 6 months before the public knew.
Really?
And his wife was running. She was making the decisions.
Wow.
I can't remember the president. And I'm sure enough people see this video. Someone's going to know. Put it in the comments for us because, there's smarter people out there than me that can remember shit. But yeah, like 6 months his wife ran it. So I'm like, wow, is Jill Biden running the country? We know it ain't Kamala because I mean she couldn't find America on a map, and Biden couldn't find it either. I don't think he could find an ocean on a globe. You know, if you threw him in the ocean, he couldn't find the fucking ocean. You know, these people need to be put on a rocket and just shot to the moon. The way the aliens dropped us off here, we should gather them and, you know, go colonize Mars.
We just need to do a better job of electing competent officials.
Right. Well, we need to care.
And I don't think Trump was the answer either.
No, Trump had his problems.
I got in this argument last night. Not an argument. We had a discussion last night about, you know, I was going pretty hard at Trump. I don't want him to run. You know. And this person acted like I was defending Biden. I'm like, stop.
Yeah.
You can't be so far up Trump's ass that you can't see. I'm not defending Biden. I'm saying they're equally bad.
Right. They both had. They're both 100 years old. Like, I'm tired of these 100-year-old people.
Right.
Like, granted, you know, the idea of someone younger than me running the country is like, you know.
Say whatever. What you want. Say what you want about Obama's policies.
Yeah.
But.
At least he was charismatic. Yeah, I'll give him that. You know, I liked listening to him speak. I hated everything he said, but man,
whatever you say, he was young.
Yeah,
he was energetic. Right.
He's on Arsenio Hall playing that saxophone.
Right.
Oh man.
I think there were still. I still think there were good representations of what an American president should portray themselves as.
He was blowing up kids with drones.
Again, aside, I'm not talking about policies here.
Whether he was a good president.
I'm not talking about policy. I'm talking about a guy. Right. Sure. The guy could go up and form coherent sentences.
Right. He was an elegant speaker. Right. And he kind of bowed to the king of Saudi Arabia.
Whatever. You know? So did Bush. Yeah. Whatever.
And I love listening to Bush talk because he made up his own words. And, you know, like, I'm a redneck, so I do that a lot, too. Like, I found out one of the words I make up was suffocation.
Right.
It's suffocation. Right. I always called it suffocation. I guess that kind of
the fact that they couldn't get past the fact they thought I was defending Biden. I'm tribal. Stop. Listen to what I'm saying here.
Yeah. Trump. I cringe sometimes the stuff that Trump would say. Is he a good businessman? Yeah. I think so. I think he's savvy with business. I think he knows how to get a deal done. I think he did some good things in America, but, you know, there is something to be said about being lucky when you're the president and things are kind of good and you're riding the wave and then, you know, all right. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a Trump worshiper by any means. No, I think the guy was an asshole, truthfully, you know. I don't think he represented the human race real well. So.
Right. Yeah, there was things he did good. You know, I think that you know, I think he was trying.
Call it like Beta Care and Shanamanama.
True, but a shout under pressure.
Yeah, I still can't say it. I cannot even. I went to college and I cannot say that phrase. Like that guy's brain is scrambled.
You know how many times I had to listen to Tim Pool say that shit.
And Poole can just throw it out, man. Like, I respect him. I love it, you know. I just, God, I'd love to shake his hand and hear him say that in person. Once, you know, just, man, he rolls it off so it's just elegant. Yeah. and he nails it. He's got it down. I cannot say it. No, I've tried. It just, I don't know what the hell that guy was saying. He didn't know what he was saying.
But the point, though, that I'm ready for another Obama-esque person, younger, full of energy,
enthusiastic,
healthy.
You know what? How about that? You could use your imagination, right? Like you want to push mankind further. Yeah. Let's go to the moon. Even though you guys know I think that was bullshit, but you know, we never went to the fucking moon.
Oh shit!
Another podcast, I got you, but. Yeah, I agree. Like, I don't want another 100-year-old man, you know, that... come on, guys, you know, like, I'm tired of that shit. You know, these guys are almost dead. They're rich enough. Go play golf.
Right.
Or go sit in a fucking nursing home in a wheelchair and drool, you know? Like, with the blanket over your lap and, you know, eating Fig Newtons or whatever.
Do whatever. Take nice walks in the park.
Yeah, go sit on the beach and just watch the sunset. Yeah. Watch the sea levels rise. You know, there you go. God.
Oh god.
I'm tired of these politicians that
Yeah.
are like 300 years old. Like I said, man, Nancy Pelosi, she got a driver's license. There wasn't even pavement yet. You know, she learned on a horse and buggy. There's probably covered wagons when she was a kid. You know, like what the hell do they know about anything anymore? She's another one that can barely say a coherent sentence.
Yeah.
And God, look, man, I'm not picking on anyone for that shit because like I struggle with it.
Mm-hmm.
My redneck.
Hey, I'm a
isms,
fucking
right?
moron.
Like,
I say it all the time.
yeah, like my sons suck. I'm just a simpleton, but I'm not running the country either. And
I had heard,
my finger on
I had heard someone say like, you know, the boomer generation just will not give up power to the next generation. I don't remember who it was, but
fascinating.
It really resonated. Like I sat there and pondered that for about an hour, and I'm just like,
you worked in the shops like I did. Think about all those guys that wouldn't retire. You
Yeah.
know, 35 years in. It's like, dude, fucking retire and let someone else have this job, man. These are good jobs that, you know, there's hungry people. These guys are young. They're hungry. They want to work hard. Let them in here. No, these guys won't retire.
Yeah.
Hell no. They work till they drop over dead. They either die at the plant or they retire and they die a week later.
Yeah.
You know? Like, go home
keep
and garden.
Talking. I wanted to look that up, too.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Pick a hobby, man. Yeah, I agree. I'd like to see a younger, energetic, a hungry president. You know, someone that wants just to make the world better, not just your family name rich and to make it last. For one of these dynasties, I'm tired of the Clintons, the Bidens, the Bushes. Like, God, can we just move away from this shit finally? I'm You know, and I remember when I was younger, I thought when George W. Bush, and you know, I've said it before, I was a sycophant. Like, I loved W. He couldn't, he talked like a hillbilly. I just, you know, it resonated with me. I thought, you know, here's a guy that, yeah, he's tough, right? He's got cojones. He'll bomb anyone that fucks with us. And it's kind of cool. His dad was president. Now he's president. And, you know, what's next? You know, we've had Bill Clinton, we've had Hillary for way too long. Now what? Chelsea Clinton's gonna run for president next? Like, just these monarchies of people. Get rid of them. Let's move away from this shit now. You know, you want to make the world better? Elect better people. We wouldn't be in this mess that we're in right now.
I agree.
What are you looking up?
I was just interested to see how long people live after they retire. Like, what's that?
You know, my
I had heard some.
He worked. He was a workaholic, man. I love the man. Like, I respected his work ethic, but he wouldn't retire for a long time either. But he told me, he said a lot of his friends retired and he worked for one of the big three automakers. He said, man, it was crazy how many of his friends retired, and like within 6 months they were gone. He said the worst thing you could do is retire and then start sleeping in, and you know. He said, you still got to work. You retire, but keep working. Like, he would get up. He was remodeling the house. You know, he'd start with a room and he'd remodel it. And then they'd go to the next room and then the next room. And before you know it, they were circled back to the room that they had just remodeled to start over. You know, build a new garage, build this, build that, cut grass, have a really nice garden. The guy, even though he was retired, he still got up every morning and went out and worked his ass off. And he said, that's what keeps you going. The minute you stop moving, you work like that your whole life, and the minute you slow down and stop, you die. Yeah, I kind of believe that. Made sense to me.
Yeah.
Wow. 1 in 4 chance of lasting less than 10 years. 25%.
Holy shit.
That's not good odds.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. It's sad.
Granted, I mean,
that's of this, you know,
that's a 65-year-old,
right? Because they're working till they're 100 years old. You know what I mean? Versus, like, you know,
only 1 in 20 have a chance of 30 years.
Yeah,
1 in 10.
To me, the ideal way of doing it was, you know, get in young, get out young.
Yeah.
You know, retire.
Yeah.
I hate the way the Social Security and retirement and your pensions, all that shit works. Because they force you to go and go and go. You know what would be ideal for the human race? If you could retire at 45.
Yeah. In your prime, huh?
You know what? Yeah. Take your kids or your grandkids to the beach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm retired. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go do something. Not, oh, I'm retired. Can you wheel me out on the porch? You know, so I can get some vitamin D.
Yeah.
Like, it's sad. We do it backwards, man.
Well, and health has a huge part to play
Yeah.
in that too, right? Like I, you know, when people say like, over the hill,
Yeah.
over the hill, and in my mind, like this hill of life, right?
Yeah.
And it's like there's all these paths to the top, right?
Right.
And the quicker and younger you can get to the top, the longer you get to sit up there and just enjoy the view, right?
Yeah.
Because eventually you start sliding on the other side, and at the
Right.
bottom of the other side to death, right?
Yeah.
So the decisions you make climbing that hill and the paths you take,
Matter.
and the quicker you can get there, I think matter.
Yeah.
And I think life choices accelerate how fast you slide down that hill to the
for
bottom,
For sure. You know, I
And-
won't lie. There's more days behind me than ahead of me now.
Yeah.
Probably,
Yeah.
but I'm not gonna get old. Like,
Yeah.
it's just not gonna happen. I'll
Yeah.
age, but
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get.
Yeah.
I just refuse.
Yeah.
You know, till the day I die, I'm gonna be a big fucking kid
What was that?
that loves Star Wars.
What's that video you sent me about health?
Oh yeah, that was just
I
great.
didn't-
It was
I
about.
I was too busy
You know.
today
You know
to
what?
watch it.
And here's a shout out to Black Scout Survival. You know, not everything that Jack says I agree with, but he's onto something, and he's on this testosterone thing lately.
Yeah.
And he had this doctor on there. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But you
Dr.
look him-
Anthony something.
Yeah. Look up Black Scout. Actually, I can bring it up, I think. Here. Anyways, it was talking about all the different ways.
Dr. Anthony J.
Yeah, Jay.
Yeah.
Yep. All the different ways that we are getting either estrogen or chemicals that react in our body the same way estrogen does. And they were talking about testosterone levels, and it was fascinating. Like, you know that they did testosterone tests on. Oh, it's being slow.
Yeah.
It's all right because you already pulled it up
Yeah.
anyway. So, on some ancient people, and right now, you know, they're like they said, you go to the doctor and a testosterone level, and someone our age is like 400, and they're like, yeah, you're fine, 380, yep, you're within range. He said that's an emergency. You know, they say that the high range is 800. He said they looked at these prehistoric people, you know, from 1,000 years ago or 1,500 years ago, and that their testosterone levels were about 1,500, 1,800. They were a hell of a lot higher than us. That it's feminizing, man.
Mm-hmm.
And they started to make the correlation to some of the stuff that's kind of going on nowadays with, you know, gender ideology and shit like that. It was kind of fascinating. But plastics that we drink out of,
Like the whole phthalate thing.
yeah, it was just interesting. And he's he's got a PhD in chemistry, I think it was. He has his own YouTube channel out there. I subscribe to it because I'm just gonna I'm gonna deep dive. I'm gonna go down the rabbit hole with him and see. It was kind of disheartening in some ways because it almost made me feel like it's almost impossible for us to get away from it now, and to just control our testosterone by diet alone might not be so easy because there's so many products, whether it's your fresh fruits and vegetables. Well, the pesticides they use do the same thing. They increase the estrogen level in men. Now, when you increase the estrogen level in women, it gives them testosterone. The opposite effect. And now you're looking at, you know, women becoming more masculine, men becoming more feminine. Man, I don't know. Maybe there's something to all this. I don't want to drink water out of plastic bottles anymore, which I've been drinking out of stainless steel cups for a while anyways, just because of being a good steward. Litter, right? I seen a video once of this island, and there was just like millions of plastic water bottles all over the beach. It was just sad that, you know, we do that to the globe. So whenever I could use a steel or aluminum drinking vessel, I did, which I guess was a good habit because drinking out of plastic bottles, especially, I think I missed part of it, but it on the bottom, if it said recycle 7, I think was like the worst stuff to drink out of. But um, yeah, tap water was just as bad. Like, you know, if you filter it through a carbon filter, because I guess like birth control, women pissing and, you know, and flushing it, and then, you know, obviously that gets into your
Mm-hmm.
drinking water, and that's not filtered out. Like the kind of filtration and the way they clean the water, that's one of the things that they just don't take out of it. So drinking tap water, you know, these guys in the cities that are just, you know, at the faucet drinking water out of there, or plastic water bottles, or they said, you know, testicles are smaller. Well, the member size, I don't know how to say that in a family friendly
It's
way, but
fine.
is smaller.
Yeah.
Than if you look back over,
Yeah.
you know.
You look, if you ever get a chance, this Dr. Shanna Swan,
Yeah.
she's on Joe Rogan,
Yeah.
and she did deep
Yeah.
dive into phthalates in the water and taint sizes, same thing. All the
God,
same
I mean,
size,
you
testicle
can't-
size, penis
you know,
size.
My
And
son's
it-
drinking out of a plastic sippy cup.
Yeah.
Know, Jack said they just had a baby. I didn't know that. He's 42 years old. He just had a baby, so I got you beat, brah. But not by much, but by a little. They ordered glass bottles,
Mm-hmm.
which is awesome. But I'm thinking, well, what the hell's the nipple made out of?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we know because I've raised a few children now. Like
Mhm.
eventually they get their teeth, and then they start chewing, and they, you know, kids start biting the nipples off, chewing holes through them. And
Mhm.
you know, my son's doing it right now with a sippy cup, and he's chewing the ends off. Like, how do I get him away from some of these plastics? And
Maybe
then,
the
you know,
rubber is safer than the plastic. I
maybe,
don't know.
maybe, but they
Yeah.
were saying like in McDonald's food, and there was some other stuff he was talking about. They use the same stuff that they make yoga mats out of.
Hmm.
That's ground up and infused in this food, and I'm like,
Hmm.
oh my god.
It wouldn't
And then
surprise me.
Jack made the joke, and I wonder why, you know, all these men want to do yoga all of a sudden. You are what you eat, right? It
Mhm.
was pretty funny, but it kind of made you think, like, man, how do I even get away with that without just taking an injection to boost my testosterone again?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I do feel like my energy levels are a little shitty compared to what
Mhm.
they used to be. And then he brought up like the new car smell, like that's terrible for you. Like the pheromones in there, it does the same thing. And he said, get rid of them plastic gases, man, especially when you're down south somewhere and it's 120 degrees in your vehicle. You get in,
Mhm.
drive, roll the windows down for a few minutes and degas it, you know, then
Hmm.
roll the windows up and use the air conditioning, because even that stuff was, you know, like really bad for you. And I'm thinking, man, plastics is in every aspect of our life anymore. Like,
But it's relatively new, I think, because when we were kids, it was probably just making that transformation from glass
Yeah.
to plastic, like bottles
right.
and shit,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Because I was telling my wife about that Dr. Shanna Swan, about her, you know, the research and shit. She's like,
Yeah.
well, she's like, so our parents screwed us up, and then we screwed up our kids. I'm like, well, not necessarily, because our parents, I'm pretty sure even my mom probably
Yeah.
was just making that transition.
Oh, yeah. We
So this
still
is
had all
relatively new.
kinds of glass.
We didn't drink out of plastic.
No,
We
had
grew up
glass.
drinking out of glass
Yeah.
pop bottles,
Yep.
right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Pop the top, right.
Glass bottle.
So this is all pretty new
Yeah. This
to our
is us
species,
moving on
right?
with the plastics.
Right.
But I got to think the rubber's probably not any better. I don't know. We'd have to research this and see.
I'm not
I'd
smart
be
enough
willing
to figure this
dive
out.
in
Someone,
with you.
someone smart enough for that
You
to
know,
figure
I
this out.
sent you that video. I knew it was something, you know, we
Yeah.
talked about before, you know, testosterone levels and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just, I knew it was up your alley of, it was just fascinating, like some of the stuff that he said, and this struck a chord with me. Geographically, depending on where you live, like when you live like in farmlands, they see higher estrogen levels in men, lower testosterone levels, because there's not trees and stuff as much to knock this stuff down and to shade you from some of that, or you know, block some of that stuff from you breathing it in, and all the pesticides on the crops and stuff that leak down into the drinking water. But when you find people that are in more forested areas, like, they tend to not have as many problems. So the more outdoor people who live indoors, definitely it has a big impact versus people who live outdoors. And I thought, well, what do trees give up? Oxygen. So, forest is probably oxygen rich, really good for you. And I thought, how did I live for all them years?
Mm-hmm.
They said when you get you're working outside in the dust and you're breathing that stuff in, like, and you kind of eat some of that stuff, like it's good to help give you good, strong stomach bile,
Gut biome?
gut
Yeah,
bile
yeah.
to help, and that helps break this stuff down and get rid of it so it doesn't affect you as bad. And I thought, yeah, all them years living off grid, cutting trees every day out in the dirt, man, that shit all over me all the time. And, I was a lot better than when I acclimated to, the normal life with air conditioning and.
Well, I don't think where
and
you
all
went to
that,
work
so.
fucking helped at all.
No.
When you want to talk about
Yeah.
pesticides and chemicals
Oh yeah,
and
you
shit,
know what
like,
I mean. And I went
really?
I went to a place like that, and I had cancer. Like it didn't
Yeah.
take long, and I ended up with a tumor in my kidney from it. So I got to think, I was around a lot of bad chemicals, and I mean there was some of that stuff, like a drop gets on you, you have 4 minutes, I think it is, to break the glass and take the shot. Like it was crazy. It was kind of intimidating sometimes. After a while, you kind of just ignore it, that you're walking and there's pipes above you that if it dripped on you, like, and you didn't catch it right away, like, you die, probably pretty horrid death.
What drives me nuts is what we know about health and wellness these days. And I'd sent you a thing about Alzheimer's, because I'd seen a thing about they were walking for Alzheimer's. They're walking to raise awareness for Alzheimer's. Cool. Maybe you could do a little research and talk to your elderly loved ones about steps they can take now before it gets to that point.
Like,
well, raise awareness so someone will make a drug that will help said person when. Well, how about start helping them now? My mom, when I hear
puzzles and stuff, they said the more use your brain, and it really
diet, exercise,
and exercise.
Yes, keeping your learning new things, keeping that mind thinking.
I'm not taking any higher moral ground over anybody.
My mom, when I hear a podcast, I read a new article, I ship it right to her. Hey, look into this.
Right.
Look into this new study about
hit it before they get that bad. Before they're turning into Joe Biden.
Right.
Drooling.
I'm very adamant about health. Right. I get my blood tested.
Yeah.
We adjust, my vitamins and supplements accordingly. And I don't understand. Does it suck? Yeah, when it's like, oh God, I got that appointment today. I gotta get my blood drawn. And sometimes I've tried to make the excuse, well, maybe I'll just reschedule it, and it's like, stop. Just freaking drive in there, get the poke. Yeah. The results are, you just got to do it. Yeah. You got to do it. You got to get your blood test. You got to find out where you're at.
Right.
Got to eat better. Got to exercise. Got to sleep.
Which
it's no different.
I'm getting rid of a lot of sugars in my diet. We talked about this a lot. Corn syrup, like, shit's poison for you.
This isn't directed toward you. It's directed toward.
Oh, I know. But I'm saying
the people listening.
I'm in it. You know what I mean? Because
I'm not perfect by any means. I fuck up with my diet. I'm drinking an energy drink.
I'm drinking a sugar one today. But it was a long weekend.
But I try to exercise. I try to sleep. I try to inform myself. Again, I have these conversations with my doctors about supplements. I'm listening to these podcasts. I'm doing research. I'm reading articles. I'm trying to find out everything I can to give me. It's like putting money. It's like putting money into my retirement. I'm not going to see the benefits till the end.
Right.
And that sucks to make the investment now.
Right. Do all the work now.
Right.
Something later, but later on you're gonna appreciate.
I hope so. Right. I mean, there's no guarantees.
No. I mean, meteor might hit.
Right. You can live the healthiest lifestyle
next week.
Right. You can. You can live the healthiest lifestyle, do all the right steps, and still end up with something. But I guarantee you, if you do end up in a car accident, if you do end up with some disease, you have a better chance of a good outcome.
If you got the COVID 19.
Charlie Oscar Victor. Come on, man, you're gonna fuck this all up.
I'm gonna. Hey, I didn't say it, but you know what I mean. Like, your odds of surviving were a hell of a lot better. Overweight, like, maybe slightly asthmatic, borderline diabetic, put you on a vent, bam, vent dependent. That's it. You're done. So yeah, it was a little intimidating because I was going through cancer and trying to recover from that shit and a couple other surgeries, and it was not a good time for me to get sick with that. But you know, it is what it is. I put my faith out there for,
Yeah. I mean,
because
I
in the
just
end, you know what I mean. Like you said, car wreck, brain aneurysm, who knows? I mean,
right. You don't. There are
you're
no
gonna go when your
guarantees in
ticket
this
gets
life.
punched. I believe
Right.
that.
There are no
But
guarantees.
the point, I think the one thing that you should drive that point is not, maybe you won't live longer than someone else. And you say that, you're doing the work now, the investment now for something later, but then you get the benefit now because the
you're
quality
right.
of
You're
life,
right.
the
You're
quality
right.
of life is
I'm
better.
still reaping the rewards.
You can run 25 miles.
Right.
I can't. Now, for a fat fucker, I can run 5,
Right.
which is impressive, right? Because, that's not easily done when you're a big boy.
Right.
And I'm running again. I love running. Running's just, man, I just kind of, I go, it's my place of zen, man. Like, I don't know what it does to my brain, but everything just kind of gets quiet, and it's just
don't get me wrong, almost,
you know.
I'm driving home and I'm making every excuse not to run that day, or I'm making an excuse not to go to the gym, and I literally have to freaking just
force it.
Just get in there.
They said, wait, what is it? 30% of Americans right now eat out every single day. Wow. Now I'll admit, like, mostly I've eliminated all that shit out of my diet. I don't eat out very much.
That's
I
good.
Just don't. Yeah, man. I'm
good.
Pounding the chicken protein.
Yeah.
That's
good.
Yeah, I'm eating a lot of chicken.
I think
now, granted, are these chickens I raised myself, that are kind of,
potato here.
Right.
Like, I still think it's better than
it's still better.
what you'd buy at said restaurant that came from.
Yeah,
I think if you buy some
was
skinless,
marinated in a plastic bag for. But what I wanted to ask him was, what about vacuum sealing? I wanted to. God, I wish I could have caught that show live and sent in like a chat and said, hey, because like we preserved our food. Vacuum sealing, I use a vacuum sealer a lot.
It doesn't sound like it's so much. I don't know that it's so much putting it in versus heating it in said container.
To be honest with you, man, like, I'm an alpha male. I just am a gorilla. You know what I mean? I don't want tits.
Yeah.
I just don't. And I don't want to lose, like, my protective persona, you know what I mean? The drive, the instinct. That's what I'm looking for. The protective instinct to protect my family, or your sex drive, any of that. Like, I like, I'm comfortable being manly. I don't want to lose that. So, man, that was terrifying.
Yeah.
Like, the screensaver you have with the UFO over the creepy trees.
Yeah.
And, you said it is creepy, but, estrogen creeps me worse. Right now, I'm freaking out about it a little bit, because God, how do you get away from it? And I guess you got to combat it with a good diet, right? A good protein, high protein diet. High protein, low fat, low carb diet, and lots of exercise helps.
Good sleep.
But, good
lower
sleep.
stress.
Yeah, good sleep, lower stress.
Yeah. There's
which
no
is all
one
good for you anyways, right?
There's no magic one thing. It's not like if I just eliminate.
It's a lifestyle change.
If I did just stop eating carbs and just still continue to eat sugar and not exercise and sleep like shit. Okay, well, you cut the carbs out. That's great, but it's a building block. It takes time. I think people get overwhelmed at the thought of, oh God, never eating bread again. I can't have sugar and blah blah blah. Screw all that. Start somewhere.
Yeah.
Start drinking diet pop instead of regular pop. Start there.
Yep.
Do that for 3 or 4 months. Then start cutting down on the amount of bread you eat.
Honestly,
just slowly phase it out.
Even energy drinks, I think I was gonna tell you today, but I meant to before we started recording, that I think I'm about done with energy drinks altogether. Because you know what? I'm noticing I was drinking so many. Like, I love them, guys. I do, man. Like, I can drink 6 big monsters a day plus coffee, and like, but I noticed, like, when I wasn't on them, like, I was shaking so bad. Like, we were up at the bow shop and I could barely clip that release on the bowstring. Like, I was shaking so bad, and it was just, I drank a half a Monster and boom, it was gone. And I said, maybe this isn't fattening, but moderation, right?
Yeah, right, and that's what it comes
Everything
down
is
to.
bad for you
Right,
when you abuse it,
right,
right?
right.
So they said smoking marijuana. I did
Yeah,
not know that. That was when you smoke, especially a lot of it, or you're a regular
uh-huh.
smoker, that increases the estrogen and it lowers your
Really?
testosterone. I had no idea. I did not know that. Not that that matters to me, but it just
Yeah.
kind of, again, abusing
Right,
something,
right, right.
and a beer probably isn't completely terrible. A glass of wine is not bad for you at
Right.
all.
Yeah.
To have a glass of wine with dinner,
Yeah.
having a bottle of wine every day is not good for you,
True.
So yeah, maybe I don't have to dump them. I don't have. I got shit for control. I'm addicted to those things. Like, they're
Yeah.
crack to me. So I don't know that I can have one every 3 days
Oh,
or
okay.
one a day. You know what I mean? Like,
See, and that's where
for
I'm at.
me, it's
I have a couple a week. You
yeah.
know. Yeah.
When,
Three
when I
is that.
was young, I did drugs and shit, like,
Yeah.
and I could stop. Like, I
Yeah.
never got addicted to shit. Like, I had a back injury. I was on Vicodin for years.
Yeah.
And then I just one day, before it was a thing, before, this one, doctors gave me Vicodin for headaches. And I went to the doctor and I said, I was an emergency medical technician. I was kind of learning about your body and just,
Mm-hmm.
the for every benefit of medications, an equal negative side effect, right? And I found out, well, this probably isn't real good for my liver to be on this forever,
Right.
because I had like a lifetime subscription to that. Prescription, sorry, subscription. Might as well be to Big Pharma, but and I got myself taken off, and like I didn't have any. It didn't matter. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
where other people, they take 2 or 3 of them pills, man, and they're crackheads. So I never was addicted except to cigarettes and caffeine. Nicotine and caffeine, man. Whew, God, that kicked my ass.
Cigarettes were the tough one for
Yeah.
me. That
Whew.
I tried quitting for so long.
Yeah.
And I know I can't touch a cigarette. I know if I
Yeah.
smoke a cigarette, I'd be right
Yeah,
back to it.
if I smoke one, I'll be back
Yeah.
to 3 packs a day. And
Yeah.
and I was a hard smoker like that. I'd smoke 2 to 3 packs a day, even if I was working full time. Man, because I could pound some cigarettes out on my break. I'd smoke a half a pack of cigarettes while someone was smoking 2,
See, I must have a sensitivity to nicotine because if I smoked 2 in a row, I'd start feeling sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, like just didn't feel
To
good.
me, it was something in my brain about like trying to build up as much nicotine as I could to get me through the
Yeah,
next
I'd
dry
start not
stretch.
feeling good. I'd start feeling
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Maybe you're sensitive to it.
yeah.
It was.
But
I'll tell you, man. I quit smoking 4 times. Successfully quit smoking
Yeah.
4 times, and almost every time I went back to smoking, it was because of a girl. I started dating a smoker, and then she'd go outside to smoke, and then I'd go out and talk to her, and then finally I'm like, yeah, you give me one of those. Like, yeah, I can have 1 or 2. No, I'm done smoking. I don't smoke now, and I won't touch one because, like you said, if I have one, I'm starting over from. I'll
There's-
smoke a carton.
I can't even explain. Like, I'm not addicted to anything either.
Right.
I've never had, I drank alcohol, and
Yeah.
I quit.
Yeah,
I quit drinking alcohol just as a lifestyle
Yeah.
choice. I'm just like, it started out as we went to a wedding, and I haven't been drunk in 20 years. But I tied one on. Got
Right.
to the level where I'm just gonna maintain this.
Right.
I'm not gonna get drunk, but good buzz going. And then it was like 2 days of not feeling good.
Yeah.
I'm like, what am I doing?
It's just bad for you, man.
So then a week went by, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't uncommon, afternoon after work to have a drink, before dinner. We'd be grilling, and have a
Sure.
beer or mixed drink sitting out there
Yeah.
on the patio, just enjoying the evening. And I didn't do that for like a week. And then like 2 weeks had gone by. I'm like, holy shit, it's been 2 weeks since I had a
Yeah.
drink. I'm like, wonder if I can go a month.
Right.
Then a month went by. And 6 months went by. And then it was a year. Because I remember the exact date because it was a
Yeah.
wedding. I'm like, holy shit, it's been a year,
Crazy.
Now it's been 3 years.
Yep.
I still
Yeah.
haven't had a drink. And
I don't really drink either. Once in a great
And
while,
so-
I'll
so
have a drink with dinner or something, but
so I'm not addicted. I've never been addicted, but something about smoking. I still remember, like, I would intentionally at work not have a cigarette on my last
Yeah.
break. And then on my way out the door, I'd get a Mountain Dew out of the pop machine. There was one between the two
Yeah.
You could walk in the first entrance, but you had to have a badge to get to the second entrance.
Right.
And they had a pop machine in there. I'd get Mountain Dew, frickin' race down to the river, drop tailgate on the truck, sit on tailgate and light that cigarette after not having one for 4 hours,
Wow.
5 hours, you know, and the whole day.
It's
All the bullshit from the
something,
day,
man.
everything.
It
Just
relaxes you.
those first 2 hits, everything was gone.
Yeah.
And nothing, you know, just gone.
There's
All the
something
stress,
about that.
all the...
And it wasn't just the nicotine. It was the hand-to-mouth habit. It was like never feeling like you know, like I didn't have a break all day unless I was able to smoke. You know what I mean? But if I couldn't smoke, you never really felt like you really had a break. If I sat out there and ate Twinkies and then, you know, did my 25-minute break and then came in, like I wouldn't feel like I had a break unless I had, you know, those cigarettes. So yeah, it's, man, what a hard habit for me. You know, and I know other people quit easier, but for me, man, energy drinks, caffeine, and nicotine. Ooh, man, if nuclear war happens next week, like I'm gonna be out scavenging for coffee beans. You know,
I quit caffeine for over a year one
Yeah.
time.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just, it's my crutch.
I really didn't see a benefit
They
personally.
said a
Like,
little caffeine for you every day is not bad.
yeah. I just didn't see, like, I didn't feel any, and again, there's still rules I follow with caffeine.
Sure.
Like, I don't drink it in the first 2 hours of waking up. I typically don't drink it after 4 p.m.
Yeah, and I would drink coffee right till I went to bed.
You know,
right?
so there's certain rules that I
don't
still
have.
follow even when it comes to caffeine.
Yeah.
Like, if I have an energy drink, I don't drink any other caffeine that day. You know, but
I still do.
if I have like a regular diet pop,
Yeah.
you know, even those typically only one a day, but I don't feel as guilty if I drink 2 of those because caffeine content's, you know, a third of what an energy drink is.
Right.
You know, but
Well, I mean, it's like
I just think people need to. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I want to fucking go to the holidays and I see all the desserts and shit.
yeah,
it looks
but your
delicious.
desserts have gotten to be really
Yeah.
good, you know, and relatively healthy.
Yeah.
At least not poisonous for you.
Right. Because I still want to enjoy some of
Yeah.
those comforts, you know, that you think of when you think of, you know, holidays. And, you know, it's like, man, you know, pumpkin pie, there's something about pumpkin pie. So I had to go to the drawing board and figure out how do I make a healthier
Yeah.
pumpkin pie.
Sure got it dialed in.
Yeah, it took a while. You know,
They're
it took a
good.
long while.
They are
You know?
good.
And then it's like,
Really can't tell the difference to me, but again now too, I'm not really consuming.
I'm sure, I'm sure if you if we put them
Yeah,
side by
side by
side, I haven't
side,
had a regular
maybe.
piece of pumpkin pie in probably 5 years. So it tastes good enough to me.
Right.
You know, I enjoy them. And those Christmas cookies.
Yeah. Oh, those are good.
Same
Yeah,
thing.
I told you,
I-
keep those away from me.
I haven't had
I
Christmas
was gonna eat
cookies.
them all.
Like 3 or 4 years, I haven't
That's
had a
my
Christmas
favorite cookie.
And that's the same thing, right? It's
Yeah.
like, can I figure this out? How I can make something that's not just completely garbage.
So like then being a good steward of the earth, being a good steward of your
Right.
body, you know, making
Right.
better choices. I think it's a scam. You know what I mean? Like I think, no, don't get me wrong. Like not being healthy is a scam, but to like we're being controlled to be unhealthy. This is why junk food is cheaper than healthy food. This is why they know that corn syrup's like toxic for your body, and yet they use it in everything, like to sweeten shit.
Well, I think it's that moderation thing
know.
too. Again, I think you're
And
supposed
what was it? Bloomberg said that was trying to make the large drinks illegal. Like he'd throw you in prison for that shit or something if you had like
I don't know about
double
that,
big
but
gulp, Nazi prick. But so I'm not going that far with shit. I'm saying, just slowly start making changes in your life. I have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm trying really hard, and when you just start taking them out one at a time, it's not that bad.
right, and that's what I think people need to do. And it's not
because I want to live longer. I got a 2-year-old
Yeah.
now, right? So and there was something that you had said to me. You just struck a chord about being around for your kids and your grandkids, and I thought about that because me, I'm an alpha male. Like I'm immortal. You know what I mean? Like nothing can kill me. Like, then I got sick like that, and that kind of makes you think. And then I had a little one, and you had said that, and I was watching them, and I'm like, I got to be around for a long time for this kid. I got to teach him how to be a man. That's my job. That's my promise to him, being a father. You know, when he was born and I held him, man, he was brand new. He's so little, and I promised him then. You know, I whispered in his ear, "I'll always protect you and keep you safe."
Mm-hmm.
I can't do that if, you know, I'm dead from diabetes because, you
Mm-hmm.
know, Putin launched off and
Mm-hmm.
and there's no insulin.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I started making changes, you know. Some way I drank coffee black my whole life really, and then the
Mm-hmm.
last couple years I got into, you know, creamers, and I had a bad influence. She was a bad influence. And man, I would make our coffee every morning, and I didn't know, like I drank our coffee once it was really good. So, you know, it was like dump a bunch of creamer in there. I knew
Mm-hmm.
how much to put, and then, you know, 3 big teaspoons of sugar stirred in.
Mm-hmm.
I had no
It's
idea that
delicious.
that creamer was actually sweet.
Yeah.
Like you didn't need to even add sugar.
Yeah.
I added a lot of extra sugar to it. It was, oh, that coffee was so
Oh
good.
yeah, I'm sure it
So then
tastes
I started drinking it,
amazing.
and you know, then I switched over to sugar-free
Mm-hmm.
creamers. Now I'm thinking I'm gonna get away from those altogether. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going back to black coffee because
Yeah.
I think, you know, I poured that creamer in, and a couple days ago I noticed like a film when you before you stir it in,
Uh-huh.
like a little white film that kind of, I don't know,
Huh.
man. It was weird, and I thought, you know, what is in this shit, really?
Yeah,
You
I
know,
mean,
that makes it
it's
taste like cinnamon rolls,
right.
right? Like it can't really. That probably
It's
ain't
probably
really
not.
good for
No.
you either.
No.
So I think I'm just gonna go back to just
Yeah.
drinking black coffee.
Yeah, I'm sure
You
that's
know,
the
my
best
my
route.
mission, like
But
seriously,
I
like
still believe that, people say, well, a study says that the, whatever sugar substitutes
yeah,
just as
artificial
bad.
sweeteners.
Right. And I'm
Yeah, I don't
like,
know. Maybe they give you cancer or something like that.
maybe,
Like who knows? I don't think they've
maybe.
been around long enough for us to really
But
know.
I see the studies from what
But
regular sugar does
yeah,
to your
but you know
body.
what regular sugar
When
does?
grandma gets her leg cut off,
Yeah. Like
how do you think she
diabetes is
acquired
terrible.
that?
And then, you know, like society, and I'm not fat shaming anybody because I'm fat,
That's
right?
from
But like,
overproduction of insulin, and
yeah.
it goes, I can't produce anymore, so you're gonna have to find a way to give me insulin now.
But
And
when you're
then,
promoting that like it's a great thing to be
mm-hmm,
big, I don't think people should be picked on for being fat.
mm-hmm,
No, because I don't want to get picked on for being
mm-hmm,
fat. But I don't think it should be celebrated like I'm a hero. Like the bigger I get, the, you
right,
know, like I'm gonna get all over Instagram now and just blow up and, you
right,
know, try to get followers that way and have people tell me, you know, it's great to be big and proud.
right.
I think, you know,
It's
put the real information again. It always comes down to someone's controlling the goddamn truth, the information that never seems to get down to people. The normal, everyday, average working person out there just gets lied to. You know, put if you really put the real truth out there, I think people would make good decisions. They
mm.
would. You know,
Yeah, and
that's
then you wonder what's behind
how we
that, because
survive.
that doesn't make our society any stronger or healthier or
No, but it
better.
makes the people up there, you know, who owns stock in Pfizer.
Mm.
You know, because like you brought up Alzheimer's, and my
Well,
comment was, oh, that was created by big pharma. You know, and you know, and I told you I was half joking, but obviously that's a disease that's been around, right?
mm-hmm,
It wasn't created by big
right.
pharma, but is it made worse by big pharma? Man, I don't know.
Uh,
Like, you know, I know that I'm allergic to bees, and you can't get an EpiPen anymore, right?
uh,
Like they're $500 for epinephrine. It's ridiculous. Insulin's controlled, like all these drugs that we desperately need to live now.
but that's the good side, right? They didn't give you a sensitivity to bee stings. They just provided you with a product to save your life if you do get
They
stung
were
by bees,
providing me with a
right?
product. Now they don't. Like I'll be honest with you, my EpiPens are expired.
Uh,
Now there's still going to be a benefit from taking it, probably enough to
no, but I'm
save my
saying
life.
they
But
provided you with a
um,
product that will save your life. They didn't make you sensitive to bee stings,
right,
but they
no,
provided you
no,
with a way
being
to save your
stung,
own.
you know,
Right,
messing with a bee's nest got me allergic
right,
to bees. Right,
right.
that was my own stupidity that led that. You know, natural selection. Right, I wasn't that smart. Um,
But
but
what I'm saying
yeah,
is,
they created a
live.
product, and I think at one time, I'm a healthcare professional, or was for a long
Mm-hmm,
time, so I'm not down in like doctors, like the industry
mm-hmm,
itself, because you know doctors are great, they save a lot of lives, but there is an underlying industry bled through there that want you to drink the sugary drinks because they want to sell you the insulin. Like, these people, they make a shit ton of money
So you're
off
saying
of that.
by people living unhealthy lifestyles,
Other
it's gonna
people,
force them into looking for.
right? They're gonna
It's
need
gonna
this stuff
force
to
them into
survive,
right. So
right?
it's gonna force them to have to seek out
It was like,
a pill to fix
imagine,
said
yeah,
problem,
imagine
right?
a world where
That's what you're
you
saying.
created a disease and got people sick with it, and then you controlled the cure too, right? And then you said, hey, look it, come here, you know, $29.99, and I'll give you the, and it'll make you feel better. Like, it happens. I'm being careful how I say this because I don't want to die in a car wreck on the way home. But I'm saying, like, my mother died of cancer, and she'd take medication, and like this pill she'd take every day, and it's like $600 for this pill. It was ridiculous. And I seen some studies where the markups on these medications from these big pharma companies were like an 800% increase, like it was with the EpiPen. What
Yeah.
I'm saying is, if you were really a good steward to humanity and you helped invent epinephrine that can save lives from someone that gets stung by a bee and make a fair profit, I'm a capitalist, right? I'm
Yeah.
not against people making money, but the greed, because those people always stay on top. If you notice that, you know what I mean? Like we're manipulated to believe like we're all on this ladder and we're all just and there are some people that go from the bottom to the top, but they're few. They really are. When you look at these, who owns the stock, who owns Pfizer, I'll bet you it's the same handful of people for the last 100 years that have just they're rich, their kids is rich, their grandkids is rich, their great grandkids are rich. These pricks are out on a yacht somewhere while they're selling you a drug for way too much money because they know you need it. But
Hmm.
some other drug that you don't need, oh well, they'll keep that cheap because you don't need it to live, right?
Hmm.
So you're deciding to take that. I'm gonna take this multivitamin so I can feel better. I'm gonna take some vitamin D. All right, it's $20 for a whole fucking bottle of it.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a pill right here, this little dinky pill that I need to protect, because I got cancer, and they're $700 a pill, and you need one a day.
Mm-hmm.
And some of it's a scam because insurance, right? So they just charge insurance, whatever. But then our premiums are higher. Like, it just seems like they
But
just
then
take more and more and more
where do
from
you,
us.
how do you not end up with
I
socialized
don't
medicine though?
know. I don't know. That's scary for me because I'm not a socialist at all. Like, I hate the idea of having laws and regulation. Like, everything's so goddamn overregulated now. That's why one reason why things are so expensive, right? It makes That's why all of our shit's made in China and not here. If I owned a company and I could deal with the regulation and the taxes and all the red tape and bullshit in America, or I could just, have my company stationed there and then sell my shit here in America. Not only am I skipping all this stuff, but I can make it cheaper there too.
Hmm.
Yeah, I can't really even blame a company for doing that necessarily because of, profit margins and stuff. I get it, but I think it, I don't know. I have not came up with a good solution to that problem yet.
Hmm.
Because the first thing everyone will say is, well, yeah, make it socialized medicine. And I don't like that. I think that stifles innovation and you know what I mean? Like the creativity of
So
trying to push
now we're
these
going in
drugs out.
circles. So it's like
Yeah.
we end up right where back what you were just
Well, I
complaining
think it's
about, right?
greed. I
Like,
think I think
but
like
if they don't have an opportunity to buy that big yacht, why are they going to put the time into creating?
I don't
I mean, the virtue of just doing it for humanity, I don't think is enough to do anything. It doesn't seem like. For
know.
whatever reason, it's just not
Right.
wired in us.
To do it. It's
There
right.
has
You
to
got to
be
have direct
incentive.
benefit,
Yeah.
incentive, right? Which I'm okay with.
So
Like I
that's
said,
where.
I wish I was rich.
Mhm.
I wish I was. I told you a couple podcasts ago, I'd dress up like Santa before Christmas, and I'd hit just
Mhm.
I'd go to Walmart, wherever in the parking lot, give out envelopes of $100 bills. Merry Christmas, like that'd be fun for me.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably why I'm not rich. Um, Something to be said about that.
Well,
But I think that it should be shunned by society, right? Instead of just accepted, like
so was
it's
there?
complicated, like the abortion thing that we were talking about before, because I am very much like, I don't want babies murdered. I am very much save the baby if we can. Just give it up for adoption. There's a lot of people that want babies, but I am very dead set against laws against abortion. Like, that is not the government's job. So
Yeah.
how do you get there? And my thought was is just to educate people to the truth. Know that sometimes bad things happen and you are going to have a certain amount of these, but that if it was something that people knew the truth and it was just kind of shunned by society instead of celebrated, there'd be a lot less of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think greed is the same way. If greed wasn't celebrated the way it is now, if we challenge them to be better people, like what have we been talking about? Being good stewards to the earth, like I said, hey, I want to do it because I want green energy, or not green energy the way we see it today, because I don't believe it's really green. But if we could have good, healthy energy for us that was good to the earth, like I'd be all for it. But if I'm doing it for, to make someone else so that they could fly around on a plane and lecture to me, like, kiss my ass, don't lie to me, tell me the truth, give me the facts. And I think if people knew what the profit margins of big pharma was, it's disgusting. And they're killing people. They really are killing people, because I believe, tinfoil hat. Oh, I believe that they intentionally make people sick because they have the keys. They have keys to the gate, man.
Well, I don't know that they intentionally make people sick. I think people intentionally make themselves sick by
You think someone in an inner
by
city home that doesn't really know about, what's the red 9 dye, or the food coloring, like, there's a lot of,
I
I'm
think they
just
know.
learning
I
this
don't think they have enough.
because I'm fat, and it isn't because I made bad choices knowingly. Like, I made
Right.
bad choices, but a lot of them I didn't know. You know what I mean? I thought, hey, I'm eating at McDonald's, but I'm eating a chicken wrap with grilled chicken. Like, I'm eating healthy. Like,
Yeah.
I'm buying pre-made salads. I'm eating healthy, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, and I know that I've been really poor in my life, and I've went to the store, and I know then. Now, this is pre-pandemic and all that shit. You go to the store into the freezer section and all the pre-made, just some
Yeah.
of these chicken wings in an air fryer. That was a lot cheaper than buying healthy food.
No doubt.
That's on purpose. That's by design. It has to be. And if you were really promoting like a healthy society, like you're claiming, why wouldn't the healthy food be the shit that's cheap? And then, you'd spend a lot of money for the garbage that,
I agree. The government could do something to subsidize healthier
Mhm.
foods and healthier
Well, I think
lifestyles.
drop some of the regulations on farms and
I
stuff.
I
Like, I
think
think
if
they're
you have, I
regulated
think
to
if you
death.
regularly go to the gym, there should be,
Sure.
and you should be able to exempt that, or you
Right.
get a tax rebate or something for
Yeah.
doing that,
And
because
like,
it makes our whole
I'm not
society
opposed to
stronger.
like paying for a gym membership. Like, like I'm not against making money. I want to make money.
But I
But
think the government could take
yeah,
more steps to
if
encourage
it
a
really,
healthier
if it
society
really gave a
through.
shit about the society and viewed us as something that was valuable instead of just slaves. So for the haves and that's what I'm sick of watching, the same people, like these, they're just the monarchy of America, of the world now, like, and they never change, and they put their foot on your neck, and they make it a lot harder for you to climb that ladder.
I
You know what I
think
mean? It
I,
reminds me of that scene of the movie Titanic. Come on, we've all seen that movie. And there's all these rich pricks in there, and then what was it, Molly, the unsinkable Molly, or whatever she was new to money, and they called her new money, green money, because she wasn't born rich. Her husband, I think, struck oil or something, and even then she was as rich as them, and they shunned her like shit,
hmm,
and it just is so realistic that these elitist pricks on top view us that way. Like we're just sheep. That's all we are to them.
But a lot of them don't leave Trump. Do you think that guy's healthy?
I don't know, man. He's almost 100 years old and he's got hair. You know, I don't have hair. He's got hair, so it's a
No, maybe
fucked up comb over.
maybe because he has
but,
access to the best pharmaceuticals, but he doesn't eat a healthy diet. He's not promoting health and wellness. He's not out there
I remember
exercising.
Bill Clinton was kind of a chubby fucker. And he used to eat double cheeseburgers
Maybe,
from McDonald's
but-
every day. He
but-
bragged about it, and then he quit.
He also jogged to that McDonald's
Right.
and ate that Big Mac.
But he was fat.
Yeah.
He was chubby. And then he quit eating McDonald's and stuff, and man, he thinned up.
Right.
You know, he still
I don't think
pretty
they
good,
intentionally
you know?
have to do anything. I think we do a good enough job of it on our own.
I think if you give people the right information and, you know, you made it, you know, look, if you're going to tell me to eat veggies and fruit, fresh vegetables every day, then don't regulate the shit out of the farms to the point where only these giant Megatron farms exist and you have to buy this overpriced bullshit from them when I can just buy a box of chicken wings from, you know, whatever, Tyson or pick one, you know. I don't know. I don't know. It's something that drives me kind of crazy. I always thought, like, you know, when you're poor, you have limited options, man. And I think I see a lot of people talking shit about poor people making bad decisions. And I think, you know, sometimes when you're on that side, and I've been on both sides of this, it's hard to get over that line. You know,
I get it.
There's a lot of challenges that garbage food is cheap. You know, in some ways, if it's you, your wife, and a kid, sometimes it's cheaper just to go to McDonald's and feed, you know, $20.
I get it.
Cost me $50 to buy dinner, to cook something healthy at home, you know?
Yeah, I get it. Like I said, I wish there was better government
I wish there was a
subsidies
better
out
way.
there.
I don't have the answers. I don't. And I don't think, you know, like government control and regulations, I just wish, like, I think if the truth was out there, I think people would make better decisions. I think that would promote. I remember that it was when I quit smoking, it was like, even though smoking was legal, right? It's not illegal to smoke cigarettes, but everyone started to kind of look down on smokers. It did put that social pressure on you to kind of kick it. You know what I mean? You started to kind of feel like, man, like people, I'm walking into the store smoking my cigarette and people are looking at me like I'm a dirty crackhead, you know? Or like I'm smoking meth or something. And you started to feel that. And that did put pressure on me to quit smoking. And I think, you know, like social pressure, it's powerful. Especially if it's used the right way. We see how it's used right now. Like, you know, I don't know. Next week I might be on here with blue hair. We'll see, you know.
I don't want to shame anybody. I just want people to be healthy. I just
Yeah,
want
I
I
mean,
want
for
them to
you,
I want them to
you've
live
never-
long, healthy lives.
You've never treated me bad about, you know, our differences, or, you know, you've answered my questions. You've always been very upbeat and positive.
I try to encourage you and
about
give
that,
you
right.
information and send you articles and send you
Yeah, you've
podcasts.
never
Like,
pushed
hey, you
me,
know, like
it was always you kind of just rolled with my interest in it, right? But I'm
when
just
you
saying
have
there's
when
a
you
lot
have
of other
burgers or
people.
hot dogs, you're a brats. I still have buns here for you.
Oh yeah.
I don't eat them myself, but I
Right.
still make sure they're here for you.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah, you've
I'm
never
not gonna-
been bad. This was not anything
Yeah.
directed to
No, I
you.
know it wasn't. I want people out there to know that
I
I
just
just
seen a lot of that online. It's just terrible, you know. If you want to help people, then help them.
Yeah.
Don't beat the hell out of them, you know what I mean, and think like somehow that's going to motivate them to, you know.
And you know, like my doctor probably saved. I don't want to say saved my life, but definitely improved my quality of life. Because I had went in there one time, and I don't know, I had sinus infection. I don't fucking know. And so he gave me the workover, you know, and had me piss in a vial, and you know, he already checked my piss. He goes, "How much water you drink?" I'm like,
It
whatever.
looked like apple juice, didn't
It looked like orange juice.
Yeah,
I said, whatever's in
dehydrated.
a bottle of Mountain Dew,
Right.
you know, like I wasn't even joking. Like I couldn't tell you last time I drank just water.
Right.
And he stopped for a minute, you know, and he goes, tell me about your lifestyle. And so I'm like, I get up for work, I go to work, I get a cup of coffee when I get in there, drink that. First break, I get a Mountain Dew, smoke a cigarette. Lunch, McDonald's. Second break, another Mountain Dew, smoke a cigarette. On my way home, drink a Mountain Dew down at the boat dock, smoke a couple cigarettes. And he goes, how long do you want to live?
Right.
And I'm like, what do you mean? And
I'm in normal life,
I'm in my mid-30s,
Right.
Like, I never thought about fast food.
Right.
Like, and he's like, your lifestyle, he said, you're not going to live a long, healthy life. Right. He's like, you need to start thinking about making some better decisions. I'm like, nobody had ever talked to me that way. Yeah. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you need to quit smoking.
Yeah.
You need to quit drinking all that pop, drink a diet pop.
Sure.
You need to quit eating the fast food. Yeah. I make every day of the week, I eat a chicken salad for lunch.
Yeah.
I grill skinless breast on the grill, buy romaine lettuce, little shredded cheese, little reduced sugar ranch on there.
Yeah.
Every day, same thing, chicken salad. And it only cost me like $3 to make those salads every day. Because I buy the skinless breast in bulk, I cook it all at once, I chop it up in a bowl so it's all ready to go, cut the lettuce up in a bowl. Every day, throw a little lettuce in a bowl, shredded cheese, some of that already cooked chicken breast, put the ranch in a little container, throw it in my lunchbox. Every day I have a chicken salad. Lost, $3.50 for a salad.
Right.
Right? And that's my lunch. I have that and a little V8, and I take my vitamins. Sometimes a protein bar with it.
You like the V8s, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, but you got to be careful because they got sugar in it. 6 grams of sugar per cup in them.
Yeah.
And it's hard to find a reduced sugar one.
Right.
But it's high in potassium and sodium, which, is good.
Yeah. Trade off, I guess. Huh? Yeah.
So, but I only drink a little bit, and
my diet's kind of a lot the same, except I throw it on a tortilla. I've gotten rid of bread.
Yeah, I cut out bread. I haven't eaten fast food now in 10 years, but that really resonated with me. He told me, he said, and I wasn't exercising.
Right.
So I quit smoking. I thought, well, to quit smoking, I'll start running because it'd be real hard to run and smoke.
Right.
So I got to find something that I'm going to do that I can't do the other.
Yeah.
Right. So I started running. And then I thought, well, I'll dip a little chew.
Yeah, I still chew.
I'll dip a little chew when I really feel like, shit happens, that, I feel like I'm going to have a cigarette, I'll dip chew. Well,
Plus, there's something to be said about, spitting.
Yeah.
Guys spit. When we were boys, we'd spit all the time. It's just something. It's cool. So I
started dipping that chew. Well, then I started noticing I was dipping the chew a lot more frequently, so I just cut that right off. So I cannot get locked into this,
That's my next.
I could feel it coming on, it was starting. But I hope more doctors have those conversations because they may not reach everybody.
Yeah.
But it's gonna reach someone if they have enough of those conversations with their patients. It's
kind of hard for doctors to even have a conversation.
If they just take 2 minutes and say, "Tell me about your lifestyle."
God, they're in and out of the room so fast. Now I'm lucky. I have a good doctor.
So am I.
I've had her for, God, I don't know, 10 years. I mean, she knows me, knows my head. If I walk in there and I'm even slightly in a bad mood, she knows. She knows me that well. And we have conversations, but man, I've had other doctors, they're like in, out, like, here's your script,
Luckily, and my doctor retired, and I have another one now, and I've worked with him even when I had my other doctor. When my other doctor couldn't see me, this one, and we have a pretty good relationship. He's not in the office right now for my blood work that just came back, but the last one I had done 3 months ago, we sat on FaceTime for a half hour talking about how we're going to adjust my supplements,
I do. At first, I was against that, virtual visits. It's so impersonal, but really, I've had them, and it is allowing doctors to spend more time with you, to talk to you. Mm-hmm. It's a good thing. It is. It was
for something like that where we're just talking about my blood work. I don't think I need to be in the office, and then it takes time. I can come in here, sit down.
Yep.
All I do is click on a link, and we're talking. Right. I don't have to drive all the way to town, sit in the waiting room for a half hour, get back there, and then drive all the way.
I do it on my phone.
I can come home after work, sit down here, click on a link.
Yep.
If it was something more that I felt like I had to
Oh,
be in
sure.
person, I'm gonna go in there. But for getting my blood work back, it's nice.
Yeah.
And like I said, he's always been real decent about, sitting down, going over that blood work. And I think he appreciates the effort I put into it
Sure.
too. So he's
That
willing to
you,
put the
yeah,
investment
you
into
care, so he cares. Sure.
right.
Huh.
I just,
That's funny talking about the virtual stuff and the doctors, like, and when to go in and when not to. I seen the story during the pandemic. Everything's locked down. You can't go to the doctor. You got to. Everything's virtual,
Yeah.
right? And this guy's got his son gets a rash on his genitals,
Mhm.
and he takes some pictures of it and sends it to the doctor per the doctor's request. The doctor requested this, and he sends it to the doctor. Will Google photos or whatever it is in there, flags it. So this shows how much they spy on you, because they knew that there was like child nudity here, and they kick it to law enforcement as a potential problem, right? Pedophilia or whatever, child porn. So the cops show up at the guy's house, and he explains to him, hey, I took pictures. The doctor requested it. Here's the doctor. The doctor backed it. You could see that he sent it to the doctor, right? He wasn't sending it to like some child porn ring or anything.
Right.
And the law enforcement does an investigation. They clear him. Oh yeah, there's nothing here, nothing to this. His account was locked out. Google shut him down, locked down all his shit. Couldn't get none of his photos, none. Blocked him out of everything because of this. And when the police, like, he went to them and said, "Look, even law enforcement's cleared me. Here's the doctor." They refuse. They got him locked out of all of his shit. Like, pictures of even when he was a baby. Supposedly they deleted them all, but is anything ever really truly deleted?
True. I never heard that story.
Yeah, I heard it last week. It was I kept meaning to ask you if you had heard about it, and I thought, God, why? Who gives these people this kind of control over us? I can see like flagging stuff, because that's a sensitive spot for me, man.
Yeah.
Like, you take care of kids.
Yeah.
They're innocent and fragile, and just they can't protect themselves yet. That's our job as adults to protect them. And there's predators out there trying to get them. And I don't care if you're a wolf or a man. If you're trying to get that kid, like, yeah, I'll leave it at that. But so as a way of protecting children, like, I get it. There's got to be some balance there. Like, I don't like them nosing around. But if they're gonna fucking spy on me to find out what kind of body wash to advertise to me on Facebook, then you might as well really look at that shit, right? Because a lot of it happens and it starts online, where they're grooming kids, and here's a 12-year-old girl, oh, this boy likes me, and meet me down at the bus station. At some 48-year-old sick fuck, like. So to prevent that kind of stuff, I guess I'm willing to take a little bit of spying into my life. But man, when you can prove like this was just doctor patient issue, like, who the hell gives them the right to play God like that? It's just, again, here's another one of these kind of dilemmas where technology is such a big part of our life. Social media is such a big part of our life. These are private companies. They have the right to do what they want. And I'm very pro private companies and not having a lot of regulation. But there does seem where there becomes a point where you almost can't have life without it anymore.
Right.
Then should there not be some protections to us now for that too, instead of just control? Because like this, controlling the narrative, we got an election coming up. What if you are not liberal and you want to hear conservative points of view and they're shut it down? They shouldn't have the right to do that.
Right.
So I think they're big enough now, and they're that integrated and weaved into our life now that they're almost a utility, like
Right.
gas and electric. Like, maybe it's time to regulate that a little bit. I don't think Google has the right to just take every one of your pictures away. I don't think that's right.
Well,
You
you
know,
have a right not to upload them all to
that's
Google
true.
Cloud either.
That's
You
true.
know.
But the way life is now,
Yeah.
like it's really hard to walk around with your digital camera, and take pictures of everything.
Yeah.
It's a lot. We all do it with our
But you can
phone.
choose with your phone to have them
Yeah, but
saved
you can
on the
only
SD
save
card.
so
Then,
much,
yeah, I
And
know.
then my last phone, I tried saving everything to the SD card, the micro
Mm-hmm.
SD card, and then pop that out and then download it onto the computer. And man, it just would not. It wanted to download all this weird shit software off the phone, every single time. And I thought, God, before my first phone that I had with an SD card, it
Mm-hmm.
was easy. You just put the SD card in the laptop, download it onto the
Mm-hmm.
laptop. I think they're making it
Hmm.
hard like that on purpose because now I don't even know the last time I turned my laptop on. I use computers in our studio,
Mm-hmm.
but outside of that, everything's done on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's convenience, maybe it's
Sure it is.
laziness. I don't know. I know that I got a terabyte on my phone,
Yeah.
and there was a reason because I kept filling up phones with 35,000 photos because
Right.
I won't delete a bad one, and it takes me 15 selfies to get a
Right.
good one and
Right.
show that jawline
Right.
off to
Right.
post on Facebook so I can get a girlfriend, right?
Right.
So I'm guilty of it,
Yeah.
but I just think at some point when you're that powerful,
Yeah.
maybe
I know there's a lot of
maybe it's time.
questions floating around about that very subject,
Yeah, it's
and I don't know
it's
if it's going
hard.
to be answered anytime
I
soon,
don't
but
know.
I know there's a lot of people that would agree with you that,
Yeah, it's just these are things I struggle with because they really go against the fabric of who I am as a person. Like I don't even know what I would label myself. I don't know that there is a more.
I try not to put a
Yeah, I
label on
try
myself.
not. I
I'm
don't
just,
want to be tribal, but
these are my ideas, these are my beliefs, and I'm
if
not going
someone
to
was
throw
like, "All
myself.
right, what are you?" and you had to pick one, I libertarian
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
very few laws. Like we got enough. We got the 10 Commandments, man.
Yeah.
I mean, if you follow that, pretty much you can live in peace with anybody.
Yeah.
You
I'm
know,
I'm very
like
independent.
yeah,
I just fall somewhere right in the
yep.
middle of all this
You
chaotic
know that the federal
bullshit
government
and
sent some money to the people in Florida. I
mhm.
seen I don't remember. Oh, I think it was Bill O'Reilly, which I was a super sick a fan of Bill O'Reilly too.
Mhm.
And man, did he have a fall from grace. But I still watch him on YouTube. He's got a
Yeah.
YouTube channel, and you know what?
I can't.
Sometimes, and I understand
I
your
can't.
point, but
I
you also, I think, my
I
opinion is, you miss out on some information because you don't. I understand, Glenn Beck's going to advertise gold and try to get you to, buy this bullshit so he can make more money because he's filthy rich. He's talking about his ranch with his
right.
farm, fresh beef, and,
Right.
he's got a fucking bunker. I don't have a bunker.
Right.
Putin nukes us next week. I'm going to fucking die like everyone else.
Right.
That fat bastard won't.
Right.
But he does have good stuff on his program. There is good information that's released out, and I think I would miss out on a lot of that if I was focused on him as much as it's like, because I'll watch some liberal media too, like Don Lemon, like
Yeah.
bitching about the storm, like I don't know. I just try to kind of ignore who they are and the politics of who they are because sometimes they really put some good stuff out there. They're
Yeah.
doing the research,
But I still think I can get it from other
Yeah.
sources that are not
I guess
leaning in one direction
Yeah,
so far.
right.
It's just, and I put some of these people, I wholeheartedly invested, they were telling me the truth and they're being
Right.
honest, and then all of a sudden,
Sure.
once I really, I got rid of the cable,
Yeah.
and I started getting my content, my news from other areas, all of a sudden it's like, they weren't as honest as I thought they were because I
Right.
wasn't seeing any other opinion.
Yeah. Oh,
I was
sure.
only getting their opinion. And then you find out, a lot of this shit they were just blatantly lying to you
I can't
about.
remember what it was about what I seen on O'Reilly that I was going to tell you now. Is it took me down a whole other rabbit hole.
So now I still think I'm getting good information from other reliable sources.
I remember when he got tagged with the sexual harassment issues, and he came out publicly on his show, on the No Spin Zone, and said, "Hey, this is what's going on. This lady's trying to sue me. She's full of shit." and I had this huge argument with my ex-father-in-law about this because he's like, what I tell you, that guy, you worship him. Hell, my dog, his middle name was O'Reilly. I
Mhm.
loved O'Reilly, man. That guy, like, he was hard-hitting,
Yeah.
tough, no spin zone. If he says it, it's gospel truth. Like George Bush, man, these guys really crushed me. They hurt my
Yeah.
feelings. And I defended him. I said, "Oh no, man! I watched him. He was out front. He was in front of this. Said it was gonna happen. It happened. But it's just someone trying to sue him for money. And you're rich. And it's like, did Mike Tyson really rape that girl? I don't know. He went to prison for it. But no, OJ got away with it. So whatever. But I believed them, and then you watch these people that you idolize so highly, and then they fall from grace, and it taught me a lot about media and tribalism. Being careful with, like you said, always hearing that one side, that one side, that one side, and you got all the talking points memorized. I don't anymore. I used to.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I could rattle them off. Sean Hannity and Glenn Beck, Bill O'Reilly, these guys, I could rattle them right off in an argument. It was really hard to beat me in a debate
Right.
because I had all the talking points
Right.
memorized.
So weren't you doing the same thing that the other side's doing now?
Sure, sure, absolutely.
Just regurgitating
So
someone
now,
else's talking points. And
now I don't,
I'm guilty of it
But
too.
I think, I think
now,
it was on O'Reilly where they did the study on the hurricanes over the last 120 years, maybe. I can't remember what news media I got that one from, but it's things like that I would miss if it was just like, well, O'Reilly's just gonna try to sell me his membership to his shit, and even I love Tim Pool. I'm a big fan of Tim Pool's show. But they're trying to make money too. He's making a shit ton of money watching his chickens eat food. So
I get it, but I think he's also trying to affect change in
I think
culture
so.
more than
I think
said person that you outlined.
I think he's trying to avoid some of the nastiness and keep culture good and pure, better than maybe like a Glenn Beck or someone, you know what I mean? Because again, follow the money. Who benefits from these things? If you own stock in Halliburton or Lockheed Martin or who's ever making all these fucking super weapons now, I wouldn't know. And you're kind of always putting that narrative with that spin, trying to rally people up, right? Get them fired up about let's go to war.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Putin hacked our elections and Trump's a Russian agent, and you know what I mean? Like, these people are crazy about this shit now.
Right.
I'm thinking, I don't know, man. Like I said, what did Russia ever do wrong to me? Nothing.
Well, even if they, again, there's not enough information for me to know who's wrong. There's just not. There's too much misinformation. There's too much propaganda.
When I buy something,
I wouldn't even know where to.
And there's a product and I'm like, wow, cool, I got this, and it lasts 3 weeks and it breaks and falls apart, and I'm like, man, I got fucked buying that one. I should have bought a more expensive version of it. And I look at it, it never says made in Russia.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, to me, Russia's just this place over there that, they leave us alone, we leave them alone. It was kind of cool watching the Berlin Wall get knocked down and shit. I remember that, with Gorbachev and Reagan, who Reagan, I think, was a good president. That was kind of cool to witness that in history, but, like, I don't know. Just Russia's just never really affected my life. I just don't understand why we got to have a nuclear war with them now. Like, I think there's other people that are a bigger threat to us that personally affect this country more on a day-to-day basis, that's trying to undermine us harder. Like, I'm sure, there's power plays between the U.S. and Russia. We're fighting these, what are those wars? By proxy wars,
Proxy
I think
wars,
they're called.
Yeah.
Through other countries, because strategically we want to run our fucking pipeline through there so we can make more money. They want to run their pipeline through there. They want their ruble or whatever in the hell it is to be the global currency. We want the dollar. I seen a real neat documentary once that said, you look at even the world wars that we had, every major battle like that, military conflict, always had something to do with the dollar. You know what I mean? Like, we think World War One, World War Two, Germany, Nazis, we had to fight Hitler. And I mean, for me and you, the average person going over there with the M1 to fight, that probably was their motivation. But like our country, it was always like Saddam was trying to undermine the U.S. dollar and get what is it, the dinar or whatever they had over there to be the global currency, or they wanted to use gold or something. They were fucking with the U.S. dollar. Boom, oh, there's weapons of mass destruction over there, and they pull them out of a spider hole and hang them. And then it was Gaddafi, and they could prove to you that there was always like our currency was always was fragile at that point. And all of a sudden there was this reason we had to have this war, and we destabilized this, and now there's a whole new dictatorship. So
All right. Well, I think you broke the internet, and we're 2.5
yeah,
hours in.
Probably 2.5.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo!
So let's.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, I'm sure. Sure, this will not be. This won't be pushed in the algorithm.
Next week I'm wearing the tinfoil hat.
Yeah.
I will legitimately wear a tinfoil hat, and we'll go down some rabbit holes.
Oh God.
On some fun stuff. UFOs, aliens, whatever.
This is definitely
DNA.
getting shadow banned and downranked. All right.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Yeah, like, share, subscribe,
Give
all
us
that
thumbs
stuff.
up.
Find the stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
Podcast, forum, video. Talk to you guys later.